of what fixtures they've been for such a long time.
Yeah, so just repeating a late change for North. George Wardlaw goes out with Charlie Lazaro coming in to the starting team and Jack Zeeble the sub, as Joel mentioned. For Geelong, no late changes, and Ollie Dempsey is the sub for the Cats. Kieran Peterson is the Carlton AFLW captain, and with us down here at the Cattery today. Good to see you again, Kez.
Thanks, Ben. It's great to be here. There's a couple of nice stories surrounding this game that I'm looking forward to watching today. Probably number one being Cooper Harvey in his debut game.
Yeah.
We were working with Boomer last week, and he had the phone going watching his young lad kick 5 in the VFL, so great to see him get his opportunity today.
Yeah, so we get to see a baby Boomer make their debut here today, despite the fact that, what is he? I think he's Gen Y, possibly, or is he further along than that? I get lost
yep.
in amongst it all. We did see the beautiful video of Boomer telling him that he was going to make his debut. What we also see is they become the 17th ranked father-son duo. If you're just going with one father and one son, they move immediately to 17th because Boomer played 432 games, and just adding one for Cooper gets them that far along. Mick Malthouse, I think this classifies as blue shorts for you, a home game down this way, given you split your time down this way and up in Melbourne. Good to see you.
Thank you, Benny. Welcome everyone to what looks like a very windy community park. I spoke to some locals talking down the surf coast, and they said it's the most horrendous wind they've had. I think it was Friday night, trees down on top of cars, in fact. Anyway, we've been spared, I think, that. We've still got a bit. It'll favour one end. Looking forward to the game. The statement here has to be North Melbourne's response. I just can't believe that Goldstein's out of the side. I had him as probably an All-Australian ruckman the way I've seen him play, but then again, he must have fallen out of favour in the last couple of weeks. Haven't seen him in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But then we've got Geelong have to do the job today, because if they don't do it, they stay outside the 8, and that's, this is their opportunity to get in the 8, because the other sides are playing each other. One of them's going to lose, and no Cameron, but they've just got to work through that midfield. I think that's been probably their Achilles heel during the year, because they just haven't got enough football from the midfield to supply that forward line, which is deadly. But they should get the job done today.
It would be remiss of us not to mention before the bounce as well, Zach Tui. What an achievement. He goes past Jim Stein's record, the most games played by an Irishman in Australian rules football at the highest level in the AFL/VFL. It's an incredible effort, isn't it, Mick? Oh,
it's fantastic. I had Zach at Carlton. My grandson is ZAC, and when he was old enough to work out that he wants to play football, he said, no parents, now ZACH. And that's after Zach Tui. I'm still, there's certain things bewilder you in football, and you'll never die wondering about a few things that happen. I cannot believe that Carlton moved him on. He was satisfied there. He loved the place. He just wanted to play football. They don't get it in Ireland that you actually change clubs, because you live in an area, you play in an area. You certainly, if you live in Galway, you don't go and play for Dublin. I found it astounding, and he's now gone in. This is since I've left. That's 8 seasons, and he's played top quality football, a premiership as well, which is fantastic for him. But to get past Jimmy Steins and other Irishmen, he has set a great trend. There's not a lot have come back in the last few years. We've dropped that Australian-Irish series. I don't know for how long, but they are one group of people that actually can adapt to our game much quicker than, say, like Cox from the States, etc.
And we've seen it a lot in the AFLW, haven't we? A lot of the Irish women coming over and playing our game. Incredible to think today that Geelong have named an all-Irish centre line, because on one wing they had Oisin Mullen, in the centre they had Mark O'Connor, and then on the other wing, Zach Tui. I'm sure they knew what they were doing, but a beautiful piece of sentiment from the Geelong Footy Club.
Yeah, it is. Just to go back and touch on the AFLW point, we've just signed 2 Irish girls that have come out to play, one of them from the same county as Zach, and she was describing when she came over how much of a rock star he is over in Ireland, and people just know him from everywhere, and clearly the Carlton connection from the same county, they made contact before she got here, and Zach spoke very highly of the club, which is really nice, and that's what landed her at our club, and she's going to be an absolute jet, so I'm looking forward to seeing her play.
It's interesting, when you're over there, it must have been when after I sacked, must have been over there when the series was on. Something was on anyway, because the parents wanted to watch their son, and Look, I'm trying to. I've probably muddled up here, but Marty Clark was over there, and we went to a hotel where the game was played. It was quite late, of course, because of the time difference. But they were all into it, all into the fact that one Irishman from that town was playing at a certain club, and they were just going to wrap their arms around him and watch the game. Had a few choice comments to make about the opposition and everyone else. It was quite intriguing. Won't surprise you, Benny. They were getting into that the ale over there and making sure that it was flowing very well.
I gave it a try on St Paddy's Day a few years ago and had about one sip and thought that's enough. That'll do.
Puts air in your chest, mate.
Warm or cold?
That's a good question. I assume warm. It wasn't very good, though. I didn't like it. I'm sure it is good, and a lot of people do like it. Zach Tui just going to the toss of the coin for Geelong. Standing alongside him is Jai Simpkin, and Zach Tui has won the toss and points to the Barwon River End in this opening term. North Melbourne, it's worth noting, in a special edition blue jumper with the bounding roo on the front. They're in the blue shorts. Geelong in their Sir Doug Nicholls round jumper for NAIDOC week and wearing the white shorts to go along with it. It's come up on us very quickly here. We didn't have a long pre-game today. What are you expecting, Mick? Who are you tipping?
Sorry, Benny. The Cats should win it. This ground is a fortress for them. They rarely lose games. I can't see them losing North Melbourne. There's a lot of spirit with North, so let's hope it's a really good game of football, but the Cats should win.
Kez?
Yeah, similar to Mick, I think the Cats will be far too strong all around the ground, but for North Melbourne, it's going to have to be that response, and in particular their tackle pressure and those sort of things. Coach Brett Ratton talked about that in their post-game interview after the loss last week, and just described that the tackling was one area that they were really focusing on, so I expect to see a response with that today, but the Cats will be far too strong.
One of the key questions, Joel, I assume you're tipping the Cats as well?
Yes, the 5-year-old North Melbourne supporter in me says the Roos, but the head says the Cats. Penny.
What does that line up with? The 1996 grand final?
1999, I was 6.
There you go.
So I watched a lot of Brent Harvey, so seeing Cooper out there today is pretty cool.
It does make you feel very old. So Geelong, a shutout in terms of the tips from the commentary team. We're just about set to go down at Cardinia Park, a Sunday afternoon down at the Cattery. It is Geelong and North Melbourne. And to get you started on Grandstand AFL, you're with Joel Peterson.
Tristan Sherry back into the team for North Melbourne. He opens the ruck duel against Reece Stanley. It's controlled down to Blitzarves, who's immediately tackled by Thomas. And we'll do it all again in the centre of the ground. Stanley forces his way to the front this time. Dangerfield had it go through his hands. Thomas tries to bat it forward for North Melbourne. Spills out wide where Holmes had to play at it. Immediately goes back into traffic. And another stoppage still in the centre of the ground between the AFL logo and the centre circles on the Hickey stand side.
Sherry lays it down straight to Davies Uniacke, who shovels out a handball to Thomas, who runs straight into Duncan. And they stand up and wrestle the umpire to ball it up. Still inside the centre square. Umpire puts it aloft. Again, Sherry straight down to Greenwood. His kick dribbles to Bose. Squeezes a kick inside 50 for the Cats. Going back, Logue marks. Takes the defensive mark. 40 out from the goal at the Barwon River end of the ground here at the Cattery. Kicks laterally and does so neatly. Away to Aidan Core in the right back pocket.
Just dragged it in before it hit the turf. Now shoots it short to Sheasel. First year star. 31 last week, averaging 27 a game. Core's got it again on the boundary line. Hickey stands side. That's the kick that can be dangerous. Gee, as Tristan Sherry dropped what Phil Tufnell would call on TMS an absolute goober. Was handballed inside to Greenwood. He was dragged down on the AFL logo. Pressure good from the Cats early doors as they lock it up in the centre.
On the logo. I like it, Joel, too. Did like that from Tuffers as Dangerfield's quickly tackled to deck by Hugh Greenwood, the tackling machine for the Roos.
Tackling well, both North Melbourne, but that's their focus, I guess.
Emerging with the football, Davies Uniacke running backwards. He has to stop, prop and kick around the wing, looking for a leading Zurha. Spots him up on the chest. Zurha, 2 kicks from goal for North. He looks into the pocket. Larkey coming at the footy. Over the back, Coleman Jones drops it. Goes and gets it in the pocket. Handball away towards Cooper Harvey. Gets the handball off. Tucker running into goal. Fires on goal and kicks it. North with the opener. And Cooper Harvey with a goal assist. He's nothing like his dad if he's giving them off. 1 straight 6 of North. Geelong yet to score. We played 2.5 in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, that's a bit mean. He was a good hand passer.
He wasn't happy last week, though, was he, when
No.
Cooper handballed
No, that's
sitter
a
off?
father result. But I thought they were too slow, North Melbourne, bringing that ball in. But it was calculated, everything about it. And then the contest, 35 metres out from goal, meant that they got their numbers there. I've always said, if you're going to get Geelong, you got to get the ball on the ground in their back line, because they are a marking side. If they don't mark it, they are massive spoilers. But if you can put the ball on the deck, not a lot of players can gather you, and that's what happened.
Good start for the Roos. Bounce in the middle favours Sherry. Stanley comes soaring over the top. Controls it down to Blitzarves. Now away to O'Connor. The Cats will enter the 50. Kick in the Rowan direction. Worked his way to the front of the pack. Slapped it down on there as far as McDonald. Then Lowe got tackled by Rowan. Umpire said it was a throw. And the Cats will win a free kick inside the forward 50.
Well, it's what he's known for, isn't he, Rowan? He just, as soon as that ball hits the ground, he pounces like a cat, for better use of the term. But that's a terrific chase down tackle, just a little bit slow.
Yeah, just
North Melbourne defender.
Why would you just wander through a backline? I just don't ever get why players think that they've got all day in the backline, particularly when the emphasis is on forward line tackling.
So Gary Rowan, goalless last week, but he'd been in good goal-kicking form before that. 8 in his previous 3 games. To get the Cats on the board this afternoon, straight as an arrow. Beautiful set shot kick. Gary Rowan kicks goal number 17 on the campaign and ties the scores at 1 straight 6 through 4 minutes on Grandstand AFL.
Well, it's a good response from Geelong. They dominated that centre clearance, and it was Stanley, as Joel, you said, just ran straight through the middle and over the top, and it was Mark O'Connor who took it away so cleanly. It's a really great forward 50 entry, and then, as we've just talked about, the forward crumbing, or once that ball hit the ground for Gary Rowan, just to be able to chase down, and Ollie Henry, I think it was, did a great job as well, applying that forward 50 pressure. One of the matchups that I'm really keen to see today, and they went straight to him, was Sam DeConning on Larky. Larky was pretty good last week, kicked 3 goals, so a good matchup to watch today.
So a goal apiece through the opening 5 minutes down at Cardinia Park. Umpire lays it down in the middle, a shocker. Call it back. Sherry able to take it on the bounce. 29 disposals, 31 hitouts and 11 clearances. Last week, Sherry in the VFL. From the secondary ball up, going after it is Atkins. He gets it on the boot. A high kick inside 50 for the Cats. Coming across, McDonald marks for the Roos. Good defensive mark. 45 out from their defensive goal. He'll look towards the broadcast wing. Trying to wait a kick. Coming across in front, Tui brings it down and eventually bundles out the opposition there, in Lockie Young in for his first game of the season. And a throw in on this western side of the ground.
You think this statement about the side being picked like this is Ratton's last one?
Don't know where else you could go, really. Against Adelaide last week, they had 29 less tackles despite having 35 less disposals. North Melbourne just absolutely out-hunted by the Crows. From the throw in, a ball up, Sherry controls it down to Simpkin, tumbles a kick into the middle of the ground. Reading it well was Stewart. Zerha came crashing through, offloaded to Harvey, kicks inside the 50 for the Roos. Coleman Jones tracks it over his head. Radikalia wearing him like a glove. Coleman Jones slapped it out to Harvey. Just lost the run at the football. Zach Guthrie was there to intercept for the Cats. Gave it up though. Thomas inside the forward 50. Now Zerha bursting across the arc. Holmes ran him down. Spills away. Davies Uniacke lines them up. Kicks the goal. Cats fans not happy. Should have been a free kick to Geelong. And Luke Davies Uniacke able to capitalise on the opportunity. And the Roos are up by 6. 2 straight 12. Cats 1 straight. Nearly 7 played opening term. Mick, is that a free kick?
I don't think it was. I reckon he hand passed it. I really do think he got his hands to this. Yeah, he did. When you look at it, he wrapped it into his body and gave a short hand pass. So if he had kept his arms out, I reckon he would have been exposed. So the umpire's in a good position. There's 4 of them. They've got to be, don't they? And there's so many of them. There it is. Yeah, it's a definite hand pass out.
It's good intent from North Melbourne early. The pressure's really lifted on the back of a pretty poor effort, particularly in the second half last week. So good start for North Melbourne.
Better bounce in the middle this time, but still not good enough. And recalled by the umpire again. It does have the look of a team like all they've spoken about, or a lot of what they've spoken about has been their tackling. Umpire puts it up. Sherry lays it down straight towards Simpkin. He's tackled quickly and a ball up coming again just outside the outer of the two circles in the middle of Cardinia Park. Up it goes. Stanley reaching over, flicking it down. Bounces back to Sherry. Handball ricochets back to Stanley. He loses it. Zerha picks it up. Stolen by Blitzarves. Then applies the bump. Duncan picks it up for the Cats. Flares out a handball to Holmes. Kicks inside attacking 50. And the mark taken by Mackay.
Just read it better in the air. Then he left Tom Hawkins for dead. Come forward and was able to effect the intercept.
North are out here on the broadcast side of the ground. Davies Uniacke goes straight up the middle looking for Larkey. Atkins got a hand in there, but it made its way to Larkey. Handball out wide to Lazaro. The late inclusion to McDonald. Shrugged the tackle from Rowan. Didn't see him coming. Handball couldn't find a teammate on the end of it. The Cats take possession. Duncan out wide to Tui. Handball looking for Mullen. Bit hot for him. He has to retreat at half-back. Handball back to Tui. Now on the paint of the arc. He's grabbed by Curtis. Slipped the tackle. Zach Tui kicks the broadcast side wing, but straight down the throat of Davies Uniacke. He's almost run down as well.
Comes infield with his kick to Sherry, who just backpedals off the mark in the middle of the ground. He'll look long. Goes route one towards Thomas. Over his head it goes out the back. Stewart's there to mop up for the Cats. In the defensive goal square, stabs a pass short to Tui. And in this record-breaking game, he takes the mark. Tight ropes the boundary with his kick back to Stewart. Stewart comes infield. And a good kick to Tanner Bruin. Still inside their D50 here, the Cats. North Melbourne leading by a goal, 9 minutes played.
Best game in Cats colours last time he was here with 19 and a couple of goals against Melbourne. In an impressive win for Geelong. Kicks up toward the interchange broadcast side. Simpkin read it nicely off the pack. Lazaro's handball through traffic. Davies Uniacke left it behind. Bruin's in there. Atkins, handball away to Close. Pokes the kick out wide, finds Myers. Having a terrific season. The goal assist king. Returns serve to Close, who's now between the wing and half forward. Looks and kicks inside the 50. It's over the head of Ollie Henry. Ball in the pocket. Hawkins will have a chance from the boundary line. Squaring kick is low to fall forward. And he stepped out before he kicked it. So it'll be a throw in. Right forward pocket, 35 around from the Cats goal. They trail by 6, North 2 straight. Cats 1 straight through 10 minutes of the opening term.
Just can't afford the fumble, can you? Right in front of us, North lad had the ball, picks it up, that ball goes to the goal square. It's turned over. Geelong now got it in their half forward line. It's just dynamite, that first possession.
A forward 50 stoppage here for the Cats. Sherry does well opposed to Hawken. Comes down in front, going after it. Dangerfield trying to burn onto the footy. They're right there with him. There's a free kick. And it's going to go the way of the Cats. It'll go to Dangerfield.
Yeah, he was dragged down. Mackay just got hold of him. Dangerfield had already let the ball go, so he certainly made sure that the umpire saw it, but I think the free kick was there.
So Paddy D set on a 45-degree angle, but 15 metres out. Wheels onto the left and misses. Wow, a little lax there from the champ on the left foot snap. And the Kangas by 5 points, 11 minutes played opening term.
Surprised with that, Benny. He's not a great left foot kick. Never has been through his career.
5 goals, 6 now for Dangerfield on the season. Long kick in for the Roos. Spill to McDonald, who kicks it straight back into traffic. Simpkin almost had it. Curtis spins his way through, worked himself into traffic, handball back out of it. That was well done to McDonald. Tumbles a kick down the line, 2-on-1 favours Geelong. Radaglia just whacks it back inside the forward 50 toward Ollie Henry, through the hands of Corb. Perez is out the back, he got dragged down. Henry picks it up, copped one high. Free kick to the Cats. 30 metres out, Ollie Henry will have a shot. He's as good as directly in front.
Yeah, a bit lazy with their tackles, North. I know there's an urge to tackle, but go for the midriff. The very worst, you end up around the chest. But if you go for the chest, I know where most of those end up, around the neck.
22 on the season for Ollie Henry. Only been kept goalless once in his first season in Geelong colours. That's not his best set shot. He stabbed at that, tugged it left. Makes it a 4-point game. Still North ahead through 12 minutes of the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
North need to capitalise here. Geelong aren't going to miss goals like that, and the Dangerfield one before very often, so they need to capitalise and see if they can put some pressure on the scoreboard.
A long kick in from Core, bringing it down. Radaglia, hand passing it on is Blitzarves, and Close carries it out in the long sleeves. It doesn't quite look right with just the plain white long sleeves of Sir Doug Nicholls round jumper that the Cats are wearing today. Throwing it half forward for the Cats. Over the back of the rucks it goes. Holmes is able to gather it. Handball away to Myers. He's tackled quickly. Tries to get boot the ball. Umpire calls play on Atkins going in. Always his want. Dangerfield trying to come through. Spits out to Greenwood for the Roos. Away towards Scott Lazaro. And then a clearing kick from Perez towards the wing. Radaglia goes up and brings it down. Bruin Roves.
He does well. Shows some speed to handball to Duncan in the centre of the ground. He finds a target out wide in Blitzarves. Handball onto the overlap run of Max Holmes. Kicks to full forward. In from the back, O'Connor. A big mark taken in front of the pack by Eddie Ford.
Yeah, great mark. That is a really solid mark, that.
Up the other end of the ground. Ford showing his hops and releases to find Larkey on the Hickey stand side. He doesn't have a great deal in front of him, though.
Comes infield.
The Cats really close this ground up, don't they? It's so narrow. There's little lateral movement, so you've really got to take a gamble to go through the middle.
Here's Core running down the Hickey stand wing, sending a high ball towards Coleman Jones. In front of him, Stewart. It comes down at ground level. Davies Uniacke handball. A little errant. But the handball there of Guthrie's errant. Chopping it off Greenwood. Gives it back to Guthrie. And now the Cats can repel. Bruin gets a handball away to Tui, and he'll break the defensive 50 for the Cats.
He's going to get a generous cheer all day, isn't he, Zach Tui? He does it the best of times, and especially today in game 2-6-5. Over the top, he finds Bowes, and now on to Close. Cats have got the numbers inside the 50. Rowan's all alone. Kick goes to Henry, brings it down to Rowan. Handball to Stengel, into the open goal. Cats in front. (2-2-14) Geelong. Ahead for the first time in the ball game. North Melbourne 2 straight 12. They traverse the length of the field in an instant and take the lead at the 14.5-minute mark of the opening term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Karen Peterson and Mick Malthouse.
Well, Mick, it was probably almost nearly the best passage to play from the Cats. They won the ball on the inside. It was a bit scrappy across the half-back line, but they were able to find the possession on the outside or the mark and be able to control the tempo the rest of the way up the ground. It was almost the wrong option from Close when he kicked on inside 50. He went to a 2-on-1, but I think it was Ollie Henry that made a contest, and as Geelong Crummers do, they got on the front foot. Bit of a concern. I can't see who that is.
Yeah.
Mick, you might be able to...
Griffin Logue, I think.
Yeah.
Griffin Logue just limping off.
That was in that collision. You hope he's okay, because he's a little bit of the glue down there. He holds them together. Smart player. Leaving Fremantle, was it last year? Last year. Doesn't look great. I don't know if it's a corky or what, but he got in that tangle. So that'll change the dynamics a little bit.
Fair old grimace for Griffin Logue as well. Nearly misses the interchange gates, but we'll head through them now, and Jack Siebel is up and warming up. Keep an eye on Griffin Logue.
Yeah, he's just going for a walk along the boundary, so maybe he's okay.
Sherry in the ruck. It goes straight through his hands, trying to bustle through Atkins. Handball away to Dangerfield. Sends the Cats inside 50 again. And it floats into the awaiting arms of Duncan, who claims the mark. 45 out, plumb in front.
Yeah, just experience there. Got just in front, just behind his opponent. There mightn't have even been a nudge, but he was able to read the play much better. He's so used to playing on this ground, of course. And that was wrestled out of that stoppage in the middle of the ground. That's where Geelong are dominating at the moment.
So Mitch Duncan, set shot from right on the arc of 50. He sneaks it through. The Cats are humming now. A little slow starting, but they're up and running. 3-2-20 the Cats. North 2 straight 12. Nearly 17 minutes gone in the opening term. Griffin Logue off the ground. Down the race into the rooms. Mick Malthouse, Karen Peterson.
Well, Karen, just on one stat, 22-16 or 18 is the contested possession. I reckon if you're going to come along with a mindset of good tackles, which means it takes you to where the ball is, then, and I'm not denying that North have been pretty handy at the moment, but the difference already, 4 or 5 contested possessions, mainly around the stoppages, the bigger bodies, and that's why that ball was going inside the front 50. And what we've got in the front 50, I'm just trying to see these numbers here. I don't know where they are actually on this sheet, but whatever it is, it just appears to me that Geelong are getting it in there much cleaner.
Thoughts of Mick Malthouse on Grandstand AFL. Alongside Carlton AFLW captain Kieran Peterson. In the middle, Atkins takes it away for Geelong. Handballs forward to Myers. Back to Atkins. Now to Stanley from the front point of the centre square. Kicks long to full forward. Henry wrestling with McDonald. Swooping in at the back was Stengel. Well done, Luke McDonald. Desperate smother on the last line of defence. Picked up by Tucker. He ran into O'Connor. And the two fall over the boundary line where it'll be thrown back in. Luke McDonald. That was a goal-saving smother for North Melbourne.
So it's 11-4 inside 50s. That's the answer we're looking for. 11-4. That's quite significant.
Forward 50 stoppage here for the Cats. Sherry works his way to the front, brings it down. Or Coleman Jones it is rather in the ruck. Handball though from Stengel, back to Hawkins. His little handball bounces along the boundary line. Atkins tackled close to the line there by Thomas. And we'll get a ball up deep in the left forward pocket here for the Cats, who have done all of the recent attacking. They've kicked the last 2 goals of the game. They lead by 8 points.
Coleman Jones to go up against Hawkins. The Geelong spearhead so dangerous in this position. Coleman Jones takes front spot. Thomas soccers it out of there for North Melbourne, but it's marked by Bowes right on the paint of the 50.
Playing in front, Joel, that's the difference. When you're coming out of that back 50, under pressure, your teammates further field must be represented 1, 2, playing either shoulder or in front, because inevitably you're under pressure. Geelong playing the odds, the correct odds, playing in front, and you reap the benefits.
Young Cooper Harvey, who's opposed to him, so an early lesson for the first gamer. Here's Jack Bowes from outside the arc. Strikes it pretty well, but it's away to the right-hand side, and a minor score. 3-3 the Cats, 2 straight the Roos, 9 points the spread through 19.5 minutes of the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Get in touch with us, 0437 774 774. Let us know where you're listening, how you're taking it in. Sheasel with the kick in, going up Greenwood. Doesn't mark, down at ground level Bruin, burrowing in, so too Thomas. Umpire lets them play for the moment. Greenwood piles on top and a ball up attacking edge of the square for the Cats. 9 points the Cats lead. They've kicked 3 of the last 4 goals. Coleman Jones opposed to Stanley. Suckering it on there, Dangerfield. Picking it up, McDonald. He'll kick the Roos forward of the logo. Zerha and Stewart. Stewart fists it down. Western side of the ground. Stevenson gathers. Handball away, close to the line. Guthrie pretty content to see it out. Nearly shovels it out. And a throw in neutral territory on this western side of the ground here at the Cattery.
Jack Zeeble just watching on. The former North captain, the sub this afternoon. Griffin Logue still receiving some treatment as it's tossed back in. Stanley forced his way to front spot. Greenwood hurdled Bruin, who had a run at the footy, couldn't pick it up. Spills in field. Ford had it, lost it. Stengel was there to pounce on it. Handball to Toohey, kicks to half forward. Myers back running with the flight of the ball. So too is Dangerfield. Oh, great give to Brian Myers, who cruises into goal, pops it over to Henry, and the Cats get another. 3 in a row for Geelong. And it was a forward burst, the type that is so hard to stop from this Cats team. 4-3-27 to 2-12, 21 played opening term.
Mick, great team play there by Geelong. I just want to highlight, we've spoken a lot in the first quarter and pre-game about the intent from North Melbourne. It was spoken about during the week and their tackle pressure, but all the tackle pressure in the world and the effort, it goes out the window if people like Taron Thomas allow Dangerfield just to run straight past him into the forward 50. That was quite lazy. He just let him waltz on straight through it. And we know that Dangerfield's so dangerous in that forward 50, particularly when he gets on the run. He's got a real turn of speed that not many players have, and that was just a little bit lazy from North Melbourne defenders. So they're going to have to do a much better job with not just the tackle effort, but all the efforts across the ground to the 1%ers.
All right, someone has infringed on this madness of 666.
Umpire warns Stanley, then just tosses it in the air. And Geelong emerge with it again. Blitzarves snapping inside 50. And the mark taken by Stengel. 2 of the Cats, all Australians from last year combining. And 35 out, the slightest of angles to the left-hand side. Stengel can go back and have a look at his second.
Yeah, all these clearances. It's 9-5, but it's clearance numbers are misleading. It's what the result is. And Geelong's result of their clearances have been 50, 60 metres, whereas North's are probably 15 to 20 metres.
Tyson Stengel, a little skip past the 50, boot to ball from 40 out, and he drills it through the middle. He's got a couple, and the men in hoops are running rings around them. 5-3-33, plays 2 straight 12. 23 minutes into the opening stanza on Grandstand AFL.
And 4-13 inside 50s. I'm just trying to pitch this. I see from where we are, the flags are going across the ground, or appear to be going across the ground, but the ball's carrying further to our right, which is Geelong's end. And they won the toss, so I'm suspecting that they kicked with the breeze. It just seems that every time the Geelong get it, the ball goes longer. But having said that, they're also winning enough possessions in the right spots with the right players, and North have been found out one-on-one, which is probably where they are on the ladder. Says a lot about their personnel at this stage.
So 4 in a row here for the Cats after the Roos kicked the first of the game and led by 6 points twice in the early stages. From the restart, Sherry with the clearance, but handball went straight to Duncan for Geelong. To Bose off half-back, who loops a handball forward, and they've just got representation everywhere at the moment. Blitzarves tumbles a kick inside the 50. Stengel got rid of Perez, but couldn't drag in the mark. And again, Geelong have numbers around the ball. Henry takes it this time. Ollie Henry pops it over the top to Stengel, to Myers in the left forward pocket. 30 from home. Squaring kicks a low one to full forward. McDonald couldn't trap it for the Roos, but Young did. Handball to Perez, back to Young, now to Sheasel. He goes to Tucker, who looks back for Harry Sheasel, kicks outside the defensive 50. Again, it's all the Cats there. Jack Henry had a hand outstretched. He couldn't take the mark. It's walked across by Coleman Jones. And in Geelong's forward half, where the ball spent most of the last 10 or so minutes, we'll have a throw-in again out on the outer side.
We're going to WA on this broadcast today, and Mick, as you would well know, both of these clubs very well supported out west due to strong WA representation with some of their players in years gone by.
Absolutely.
Thomas trying to burst through with the footy. The umpire says holding the ball. Duncan pins him holding the ball. Free kick attacking edge of the square for the Cats. Back inside 50 they go, looking for Stengel. Off the hands of the pack. Falls to Hawkins. Swivels, snaps and goals.
Yeah, quite poor.
Really. Too easy for the Cats. 6-3-39, plays 2 straight 12 at the 25-minute mark of this opening term.
Yeah, Benny, I don't want to jump in too quick, but it's not a matter of defending the ball, it's a matter of defending the ball in the right area and having sync with your teammates around you. It's like you gravitate to the football, then something's going to happen. If it spills out or gets punched forward, then someone crumbs it, you're not there. If it spills out the back, Hawkins should never be a player that can crumb the football from behind a pack and snap on goal clearly and easily on the back of the pack. Then you've got to sort yourself out there. I don't know whether Lowe's gone back on, but I know, in fact, he must be off to Siebel's now on. So this will be an interesting thing where Siebel, who's been dropped, now has to take over that leadership.
He goes straight into the defensive half where they need a bit of help at the moment. Holmes the clearance for Geelong from the middle. Davies Uniacke didn't even tack the ball then, just didn't read it in the air. It went straight up and down and he just let it bounce. Holmes came in to pick it up. He got it to O'Connor, tumbles it inside the forward 50. Lockie Young picks up in defence for North Melbourne. Handball to Davies Uniacke, puts Mackay on the back foot. He puts McDonald on the back foot. And that's a clever kick from Luke McDonald. And Darcy Tucker dropped the mark. Inside the defensive 50 in the back pocket. Now he runs into trouble, just got the kick away. But he was over the line before he did. And we'll have a throw in the left forward pocket. Cats are all over North Melbourne here. They lead by 27. We're 27 minutes through the opening term.
Just looked early on, it looked like they were on North Melbourne, but the mistakes being made now is really costing them badly.
From the throw in, Sherry knocking it down, trying to emerge with it. O'Connor, it spills out. McDonald picks it up for the Roos. He'll kick to the Hickey stand wing. Radagalia there, so too to Koning, who glides in from the side and takes the intercept mark.
That's not going to work for North. They can't keep going long down the line. Geelong is just far too good at setting up behind the ball and coming across.
Cats back with it on the wing. Kick inside 50. It pitches on the deck, picking it up. Blitzarves. Handball looking for Hawkins. Worried out of it there by Greenwood. Handball to Zeeble. Clear and kick. will be a turnover. And the mark is taken by Mullen for the Cats.
Playing in front again. That's back ball out of back 50. You've got to get in front.
Mullen pokes it out wide. Probably thought he might have had a crack from that distance to his fellow Irishman in O'Connor. Comes to De Koning. Cats by 27. 28 gone in this first term. De Koning's kick inside the 50s, cut off by Davies Uniacke. A welcome inclusion for North Melbourne last week after such a bright start to the season and dealing with a couple of injury worries since. Cats with the last 5 goals of the game. Davies Uniacke finds Larkey at right half back for North Melbourne, so they can find the outlet. Now Larkey comes into the corridor. Dangerous kick, but bit it off well. Rowan closed in on Zeeble with some ferocity. Jack Zeeble's back on his feet. He's got the ball just defensive side of the centre circles for the Roos.
Zeeble chips it short to Perez. In the sunshine, he'll drive the Roos long inside 50. Thomas drops the mark. Goes again at ground level. Stewart's back there, as he so often does. Cleans up for the Cats at the back. He'll send it out to left half back, and the kick is perfect for Brian Myers, who takes a sprawling mark at left half back, eastern side of the ground.
Well, that's really disappointing by North. They had the ball in there, had numbers. Thomas pressure nil, and as a consequence, the ball just comes out so easily.
See him drop another mark. Thomas dropping a chest mark at full forward. Core takes a mark here. Intercept on the outer side, just defensive side of the wing. Cats 6-3, North 2 straight. After North led by a kick in the early stages, and De Koning picks that off very easily.
That ball did hold up, so it just makes you wonder what that... It's a mystery wind. It's going across the ground, but it just seems that Geelong will get a lot more distance with it.
Stewart back out wide to Myers, and now infield to Mullen. Playing game number 3, the Irishman. Loads up on the right boot. Kicks to half forward. And making his way into the pack again to intercept his core, who's had a stack of it in the last few moments.
He feeds it out wide to Tucker. Tucker's short kick, good for Greenwood. Diving low down. Gives it off to Davies Uniacke running by. He'll feed it to Larkey. Larkey will kick inside attacking 50. Nearly gets to Zurha. De Koning breaks it up. It falls to Stewart, and the Cats can rebound. Handball to Blitzarves. Handball to Duncan. Duncan will kick a pinpoint ball. A beautiful ball to Rowan, who marks forward of the logo.
Absolute laser, and Gary Rowan sees Tom Hawkins in position 1A. Ball gets out the back, bounces it way to the goal line, and Hawkins sockers it through. Tom's got a couple. It bounced its way all the way to the goal line, ricocheted off a body, and all Tom Hawkins had to do was throw his left peg at it and get it through the traffic. 6 in a row for Geelong. They lead by 33 points, 7-3-45 to North Melbourne, 2 straight 12. It's the Cats' best opening term of the season, and it's a worry for the Roos.
Well, it's off the back of inside 50s, Mick. It's what you were talking about before. It's 19-6. And when North Melbourne have managed to be able to go inside their forward 50, they've really made really poor errors, haven't they?
Oh, well, even that, just punch the ball through. This is stuff you teach your kids at under 14 stuff, is just take the ball through. But the real worry is that when the ball hits the deck, and I've always said that Geelong are vulnerable at ground level, well, North Melbourne haven't made them pay at all. I haven't seen Stevenson get anywhere near anything on the ground. Thomas just doesn't chase out. Larkey's has to come up right up the ground to get the football, and that's not his fault.
As Joel mentioned, the last 6 goals of the game going the way of the Cats comes after North Melbourne kicked 2 of the first 3 goals of the game. Secondary ball up in the middle. Tui picks it up off the deck. He runs straight into a couple of Roos and will go again. Out by 33 points are the Cats. Trying to pick it up in their Sheasel and quickly tackled.
Hasn't got into the game either.
Umpire puts it up. Stanley flicking it down straight to Atkins. And we'll get another ball up, still in the middle. Keep your text coming, 0437 774 774. We'll do our best to answer them on Grandstand AFL.
Great to have you with us on ABC Radio Perth and WA, and wherever you might be listening on the ABC Listen app. Sherry has another go in ruck. Greenwood tried to grab it for the Roos. Ended up going between Mark Blitzarves' legs to get the footy. Handed it off, but only to Holmes, who got it to Tui, who spikes it forward for the Cats. High ball. He's batted down to Duncan, who's just cruising past. Now to Hawkins. In on goal for his third. Can't quite get it there. Just squirts off the side of the boot and away to the right-hand side for a behind. Geelong's lead, 34 points. 33 gone opening term.
Duncan's been great in this first quarter. He's up to 10 touches. He's had 2 inside 50s as well.
Yeah, contested possessions 40 to 30, and that was another fiercely contested possession by Geelong to win that.
Oh, the Cats have won it back again. Close, pulling the trigger on goal, and Stengel shepherds it through. It's Brad Close. The game's not. Geelong are out by 34 points. Well, we're going to check that.
Mick, what are you saying to North Melbourne at quarter time? What's your message to them to try and turn this around?
Well, you know, you've got to be very careful how you... Overall, you say, OK, we're 6 goals down.
Review complete. But looking at this angle, you can see a gap between the ball and the North Melbourne defender at all times.
So,
decision on the scoreboard.
They're kicking his goal. So you've got to address the issues. The issue one is a stoppage for a start off. I think North Melbourne are putting their snouts in the trough and no one's out on the outer. Secondly, when the ball hits the ground on the forward line, there's just no representation. So that's what Harvey's up there for. I know it's his first game or thereabouts, so therefore he's got to make something happen up there. Geelong love a loose player here. When I've come here and watched GWS, for instance, on 2 occasions I've come and we call that game for the ABC. They've won the game by keeping 6 forwards home. It makes Geelong then have to defend each ball that goes in there. Now that means you've got to rely on your midfield getting the job done. At the moment, the midfield's being really whacked, and when they get the football, they don't know what to do with it. And their backline, of course, has been under pressure. That is one-on-one. They're just not good enough, really.
So Geelong out.
Just to say something, Benny, you've got to appeal to them to just be a contested side.
Geelong out by 40 points, 8-4-52, plays 2 straight 12 late in the first.
Best opening term for Geelong since 2012. And they've not done yet. Atkins kicks inside the 50. Slapping it down in defence was Zeeble, but almost into the lap of Myers. Now Tui, grabbed by Zeeble, got the handball away. And Duncan's in on goal now. And McDonald diving across like a soccer goalkeeper to parry it over the bar. We'll see a bit of that in months to come with the Women's World Cup in this part of the world. 53 Geelong, 12 North Melbourne, the margin 41.
Got a listener referencing the Women's World Cup on the SMS line. We'll get to that in a moment. Short kick in to the left back pocket for Zeeble. And saved by the Bella North Melbourne. And they've got a bit of work to do at the break because they trail by 41 points at the first change. 8-5-53 the Cats. North Melbourne 2 straight 12. The goal kickers with a couple Hawkins, then singles to, also with 2 Stengel, singles to Duncan, Rowan, Ollie Henry and Brad Close. While for North Melbourne, their 2 goal kickers, Luke Davies-Uniacke and Darcy Tucker. At quarter time, the Cats by 41. This is Grandstand AFL.
Kerr intercepts, dribbles into the area, Kerr strikes, the Aussie captain scores! Sam Kerr puts the ball into the back of the net.
The 2023 Women's Football World Cup starts July 20 on ABC Sport.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Over the back, Coleman Jones drops it, goes and gets it in the pocket. Handball away towards Cooper Harvey, gets the handball off. Tucker running into goal, fires on goal and kicks it.
Thomas inside the forward 50. Now Zerhard bursting across the arc. Holmes ran him down, spills away. Davies-Uniacke lines them up, kicks the goal. Cats have got the numbers inside the 50. Rowan's all alone. Kick goes to Henry, brings it down to Rowan. Handball to Stengel, into the open goal. Cats in front.
Terry in the ruck, it goes straight through his hands, trying to bustle through Atkins. Handball away to Dangerfield, sends the Cats inside 50 again. and it floats into the awaiting arms of Duncan. So Mitch Duncan, set shot from right on the arc of 50. He sneaks it through. The Cats are humming now.
Stengel was there to pounce on it. Handball to Tui, kicks to half forward. Myers back running with the flight of the ball. So too is Dangerfield. Oh, great give to Brian Myers, who cruises into goal, pops it over to Henry, and the Cats get another.
Cats back inside 50 they go, looking for Stengel. Off the hands of the pack, falls to Hawkins, swivel, snaps and goals.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
So 7 straight goals to finish the term for the Cats. Lots of text coming through as well here on Grandstand AFL. How's this? Robin Sue McHenry walking around Theodore, Queensland in my Geelong gear and listening to great commentary on the web. Great commentary work because it makes us feel like we are there. We're travelling north for the winter. We live about 300 metres from Cardinia Park. How good is that? Go Cats, say Rob and Sue.
With the winter, Ben, you'd rather be up there than down here.
I would.
Yeah.
Another SMS. This is anonymous, but leave your name and where you're listening. Listening from Hong Kong as my plane keeps getting delayed. French women's football team on my flight. Go Cats. So a lot of people in different parts of the globe listening to us. Our experts with the Cats leading by 41 points at quarter time. Mick Malthouse and Karen Peterson.
Well, Karen, you spoke, I heard you say early about that North have been focusing in on their tackles. Well, that's down now 26 to 16. Geelong are that far in front, and yet they're still 10 in front as far as tackles. Then the contested ball. The contested ball is, to me, it's more than just stoppages. You know, we see the stoppage thing, which is showing 14 to 6. So 14 to 6, but then you have a look at the contested possessions, add that on. So if North are there to have a fight and forget the fact that they're probably undermanned and Geelong are a much better side than them, then like they failed dismally. I come here expecting North would have a bit of oomph about them. Right now, outside of class, they've been beaten on the fundamentals of making a side worthy of watching. And that's a harsh reality.
I hear you talk all the time, Mick, when I listen into ABC that the numbers don't often tell the whole story, and I normally would believe you. The eye test today is telling us exactly what you've just told us then, but the numbers are actually backing it up. So you mentioned the tackles, they're minus 16 inside 50s. The two stats for me that I do go looking at and do think that has a huge impact on how the game's being played is the marks inside forward 50. So that suggests to me the quality of ball that's coming in. Are they lowering their eyes and they're hitting their teammates? North Melbourne have 0 marks inside forward 50, but on top of that as well is that when the ball does go in there, there's no tackle, so they're not being able to retain possession. So you go at quarter time and you go, okay, yep, we're 6 goals down. You go looking at your leaders and you say, right, leaders, you need to have an impact here. And the two that I'd probably mention is Simkin. He had 2 touches for the whole quarter, and Zurhaar had 3. He had a couple of nice moments, Zurhaar, where he was able to burst through, but it's not enough. He needs to be able to do more, and he needs to be able to drag his teammates along. And like what North Melbourne have been saying all week, they tackle pressure and they want contested possession to be up. You start looking at, well, who are the players in the team that are going to be able to deliver that? And one of them's going to be Jaden Stephenson, and he's had 1 touch for the whole quarter. So
yeah, well, that must have been before the ball was bounced.
in the warm-up, you reckon?
Well, I haven't seen him do anything.
So we need to see a response from them. But, I mean, on the flip side, we haven't spoken too much about Geelong because it's just been all class, and they're doing what Geelong do, and that's intercept the ball when North Melbourne are making really poor decisions going long down the line. Sam De Koning's having an absolute field day, as is Tom Stewart, just being able to mop up everything. And geez, if I was playing forward for Geelong today, I'd be pretty happy. I mean, if Tom Hawkins is able to get out the back of a contest and be able to snap goals, it doesn't say much for what's going on with North Melbourne's defence. So we need to see a response here from North Melbourne, but I expect Geelong to continue on their merry way.
We've spoken about it a lot here on Grandstand AFL, mainly because I'm fascinated by it, interested in it. But Geelong, after wins, they decant a red wine and sit in the rooms and enjoy a crisp Pinot or Cab Sav or whatever they feel like. So they might as well, I reckon, decant it now at quarter time. Yep. It's just about done.
Bottles are open.
Is that what they do?
Yep.
Well, that's maturity, isn't it?
Treat them like adults and they might behave like it.
I'm sure a few of my former players would like to have known that.
So the second quarter underway here on Grandstand AFL. The Cats leading by 41 points. Coming away with it here, Dangerfield stripped of it in a tackle. Spills out to Bailey Scott. Handball errant though. Stolen by Stengel for the Cats. Handball looking for Stanley. Slaps it on. Duncan's able to pick it up. Handball to Bruin. Look out. Davies Uniacke closes him down and causes a turnover.
Yeah, Simpkins away, and North have come with a little bit of energy to start this second term. Kick inside the 50 toward Coleman Jones. Radicale got a hand in there, spills to the deck. Lazaro picks up, he's dragged down. Handball to Zerha, now to Curtis. He's got some tricks, this young kid. He bounces it right on the goal line, and it sits up for Sam de Koning.
Well, you know your luck's out when that happens.
He was celebrating too, Curtis. He thought, this is great, what a great start to the second quarter, and not to be.
That ball's bounced backwards, and Sam de Koning jumped in the air, took it over the line for a rush behind. The first score goes to the Roos, 40 points, but you can see that energy, a couple of big efforts from Cam Zerha, so I think they've been lined up at quarter time, North Melbourne.
Zach Guthrie with the long kick in. Blitzarves thought he had enough of it for the mark, and I think in the end he will be paid the mark. So it'll come back to Blitzarves. Defensive point of the square here for the Cats. Kicks laterally across to Duncan, who stabs it short to Bruin. And they run straight through the mark. Eddie Ford and Mitch Duncan. Eddie Ford pointing out, I'm just chasing Duncan as Tanner Bruin kicks straight up the middle towards half forward. Mark dropped there by Sherry. Spills to close for the Cats. Gives it off to Dangerfield. High ball towards full forward. Good mark. Taken there by Bailey Scott at fullback there for the Roos.
That is a very good mark.
Scott chipped short. He was one of their better players last week as well. 24 touches, 7 inside 50s. And a goal, the other father-son out there. Sheasel at half-back, now to Core. Down the line looking for Coleman Jones. Blitzarves worked him under the football. Stewart picks it up in front of the interchange for Geelong. Handball inboard to Holmes, who's got the afterburners on. Kicks to full forward. Dangerfield and Rowan both there. Getting a fist to it was McDonald. Spills out the back. Left it behind Sheasel. Now Zeebel's got to clean up the mess. He's dived upon by Stengel but got taken high in the process. So a free kick from the behind line for the Roo. Chips it across to his experienced defensive partner in McDonald.
McDonald flares out a kick quickly to Ford. Sorry, Kes.
No, I was just going to say, how quick's Max Holmes? Took off like an absolute rocket.
He's lightning. Ford feeds a handball over the top. Tucker bounding down the Reg Hickey stand wing. Kicks over the head of his target, Larkey. As he and Radigalea go to deck, and it tumbles out for a throw in left half forward for the Roos.
That's how good North are going. They've collided with a bloke who was going to run onto the ball. So it was onto Simpkin. Yeah, so they can't take a trick at the moment.
Cats by 40 points, 3 minutes into the second.
It's a degree of making their own luck that they're not involved in at the moment either. Davies Uniacke at the stoppage. Didn't get rid of it as he should have, said the umpire. Free kick to Mark Blitzarves. It goes past Gary Ablett Sr. in terms of games played for Geelong this afternoon. Kicks across the defensive 50. Curtis got in there to disrupt things. Ford was dragged down to the tackle by Zach Guthrie. And we're going to have a ball up. Centre half forward for North Melbourne, kicking to the Barwon River end here in this second term. They trail by 40 points. The only change to the quarter-time score are behind to the Roos.
Stanley trying to take it out of the ruck, misses it. Then Sheasel wrenched off his kick. Dangerfield for the Cats. Handball away to Stanley. Sweeping handball to Wally Henry. He'll kick inside 50 for the Cats. Getting back Core. He drops the mark. Zeebel's there. He'll just spiral a kick out towards the wing. Zach Guthrie picks it up for the Cats. Handball to Tanner Bruin, cuts back onto his left, chips it short. Hawkins leading at the footy, can't complete the mark. Goes down with head in hands, and there Zerha for the Roos. Handball to Lazaro, to Sheasel, kicking across half back, and Ford can mark.
This ball movement is just horribly slow by North. They've got the ball on the half back line here, and they had one-on-ones forward. You just have to take your chance at that. Get numbers.
They really haven't improved in about 4 years. I think Larkey's given Geelong defender a shove there in the marking contest. Stewart went to ground and de Koning came over the top. Distinctly remember calling a game a couple of years ago here when North Melbourne got absolutely thumped and just kept kicking it to the same spot on the ground, and Geelong just kept picking it off, and we've seen a bit of that so far today. De Koning kicks to half forward. Rowan comes out with the arms outstretched and takes a strong mark. Rolls around onto the right boot. Sends a high ball inside the 50. Henry with a fly. Can't pull it in. Spills to Mackay. Handball over the top towards Simpkin. Duncan there with him, applying some pressure. Simpkin's pretty keen to see it out. And it'll be thrown at the junction of the 50 and the boundary. Geelong at right half forward. They lead 8-5 to 2-1. 5 minutes played, second term on Grandstand AFL.
Umpire flings it back in. Sherry lays it down in front, but Dangerfield steals it. Handball to Myers. That unique kicking style pulls it back, and Ollie Henry's on the end of it. In the left forward pocket he marks.
2-on-1 too, say Ben. He was on 2-on-1. Two North blokes were looking at each other. Thomas and Zeeble just looking at each other. You've got to pick a player up when the opposition have got the football.
Ollie Henry very casually bends it through on the right. Ollie on the double. And the second term starts as the first quarter finished. The Cats are out by 46 points, 5 minutes into the second, 9-5-59. Plays 2-1-13. Mick Malthouse, Karen Peterson.
We can't underestimate how clever and how challenging that kick was from Brian Myers. So he's in the right forward pocket and he slung it on his boot. He's gone across the face of goal, and you could see what the North Melbourne defenders were trying to do. They were trying to sit in an assertive position to the middle of the ground, but Myers was so good that he was able to clear both of them. And to your point, Mick, whilst both of them are in assertive positions, one of them needs to have a body on the forward. It's really lazy defence, but for Myers to be able to pull that kick off to Henry, put it to his advantage side, he should not be underestimated. He's had a great start to the game. Where is he? Brian Myers in the second. First kick for the second quarter. Someone's changed the screen, but he's up to about 10 disposals.
Well, he averages 2 goal assists a game, and he's got that 5 minutes into the second quarter. So he's done his job already, Brian Myers, and the Cats come bursting out of the middle again. Here's Stanley looping it forward to Myers. Low kick inside the 50. Hawkins slipped over, and Mackay accepts that one to his chest. Immediately plays on to Tucker, who kicks up the outer side wing, almost straight down the throat of Zach Guthrie. Just gone over the back on the carry. Stevenson tries to get rid of him with one arm, and he's pushed rather limply across the boundary line. Centre wing of the Hickey stand side. It'll be tossed back into play.
If I could just say, one of the things I always gauge by is if you took a photograph 10 metres around the ball, how many numbers do you have, how many numbers does the opposition have? The team that outnumbers the opposition will win the ball the majority of times. Geelong are clearly, when they've got the football, they've got runners. When there's a loose football, they've got more numbers. North Melbourne, you do not need talent to run hard and work hard, and they're not working hard enough.
Ball up on the logo of the Hickey stand wing, shoveling it out with a handball blitzarve. Sheasel picks it up, handball back into the muck, coming through Bowes. He's able to knock it on to Myers, leaves it behind, and close to the boundary line, it's out again. Another throw in on the wing.
Mick, the reason that's happening, that Geelong's got an extra number at the stoppage here because North Melbourne sent Taron Thomas as a spare behind the ball. So,
well, yeah, but that's in play though. In general play, you still have to get the numbers to where the ball is going to be. Right now, if you took a picture, North would be deficient in their numbers.
Here's Stevenson for the Roos in the middle of the ground, kicking towards half forward through the hands of the target there.
4v1.
In Harvey, and picked off by Holmes, who moves it on to Hawkins, goes straight up the middle, looking for Henry coming across. Aiden Core, he takes the defensive mark at fullback for the Roos.
Fourth intercept mark so far. Thomas got upended by Rowan there as he got rid of it. Harvey slides in on the boundary line and takes a good mark. Heard Father Brent say yesterday he's a good mark for his size. Certainly proved it there, did the first gamer for the Roos. Pokes it down the line and Stewart just clatters it away from Larkey. Punches it into row 4. Probably dislodges a couple of hot chips and maybe a pie. Ball will be chucked back in front of the interchange gates. It is Geelong by 46. 9 minutes gone in this second quarter.
Cats by 46. Umpire spins it in. Knocking it away. Sherry. Bowes able to pick it up there for the Cats. Broon. He'll receive the handball and kick inside attacking 50. And Henry once again running laterally nearly along the edge of the attacking 50. Claims the mark. 45 out. And that's slightest of angles right hand side. He gives it off. Running around the back. Tui in his milestone match. His kick hits the behind post. Out of bounds on the full.
What I was going to say there, Benny, is have all the players you like in the back half extra, but if they don't work together and they don't put pressure on the ball coming in, then it's wasted time. Thomas was totally wasted there. I just don't get when you're 8 goals down that you have a loose player in behind the ball when you've got the breeze.
It's pretty negative coaching. Core smashes it in. for North Melbourne. And goes straight into the pack on the front 50 for Geelong, where it's locked up.
I've only gone forward once inside 50, North Melbourne. Get the player up the ground, not behind the ball.
It was from the opening stoppage. They haven't seen it up that end since then. Greenwood from the stoppage at half-back for the Roos. Kicks high up the wing. And again, look, 4 Geelong numbers around that ball. Mullen shares it with Holmes. Kick infield, cut off by Harvey. Wants to move it quickly and kicks it straight to Jack Henry, who picks it off like he was... Goes to Myers, infield, and the Cats just continue to build it. Here's Bowes.
Former son is part of that. Hawkins is there, gathers on the bounce. Handball to O'Connor. He loses it under pressure. Coming through is Sheasel. Handball to Greenwood to Zeeble. Time to steady, and then a kick out towards the wing. And the Cats are there again. Bowes marks and sends a handball to Brian Myers.
Here is Myers. Whips it inside forward 50 over the head of Dangerfield. Thomas is out the back. He's going to kick across his defensive goal. And just is that they are trying to kick it to Geelong. It's been extraordinary ball movement in the last 5 or so minutes from North Melbourne.
And they've got it again, across half forward. Here's Duncan, chipping it for a leading Dangerfield.
Great kick.
Socks up, on the burst, marking on his chest. 45 out, directly in front.
Geelong are not 10 goals better than North Melbourne. I'll give you the tip right now, particularly early in the second quarter.
Danger wants to go short to the Hawk. And Tom Hawkins, he takes it. I think about the same distance out and slightly worse an angle.
Well, Dangerfield really patty. I mean, that's ridiculous what he's doing. And I'll just give it, for those that aren't looking, he kicked the ball to Hawkins, walked across, and then tried to tell the umpire where Hawkins marked the ball. You're better than that, Pat. You do not need to do it.
So Tom Hawkins already has a couple. 33-12 from set shots. This year he goes short to Brian Myers and maybe returns the favour to a man who sets up a lot for him. Myers marks 30 metres out, Benny, same angle.
17 players.
He gives it off. Tui, and Tui's kick is short. And Brett Delidio would say they're taking the P1 double snakes at the moment, Geelong.
There's 17 players in the back 50. They still couldn't man up.
That's all they were trying to engineer, was to get it to Tui, I think. Sherry hacks it outside the defensive 50 and it floats its way to Coleman Jones. And if you're North Melbourne, you probably take that as a bit of an insult.
Yeah.
A bit of the Michael Jordan, and I took that personally. Coleman Jones kicks down the line, straight to Stewart. Stewart in field, had a couple of Cats to choose from. Chose Duncan, which is a good option most of the time. He flares it across the centre of the ground to Bowes, just to the side of the centre circles. Kicks to right half forward for Myers. That ball won't quite stay in. It skids off the turf and goes out for a throw-in near the junction of the boundary in the 50. Right half forward, Geelong into attack. Really where they've camped it in this second term, and they lead by 46.
It's a little bit like a cat playing with its food at the moment, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And you know, it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing for North Melbourne. They had 17 players inside the back 50 and still couldn't stop 3 marks being taken.
Stanley and Sherry lock up, bounces out the back to Tui, swivels in the tackle, gets a handball out. Sheasel tries to come through, leaves it behind. Scott picks it up, gives it to Lazaro, kicks the Roos into the middle. Stewart spoils. It'll come down in his hands, almost a mark. Umpire says play on. Arriving is Paul Curtis, held in. And a ball up in the middle of the ground. The sunshine beating down here on Cardinia Park. It's anything but sunny for the Roos at the moment. The Cats by 46 points, 14 minutes into this second term.
And I'm watching Terran Thomas behind the ball, got no idea how to play behind the ball, and absolutely useless position, and just keeps feeding Geelong's backline. Just quite staggering what's happening here.
Sherry slaps it down, getting a kick away with Simpkin inside the forward 50 for the Roos. Coleman Jones comes out, crashes the pack. Geelong again, numbers at ground level. If you've heard that once today, we're not on repeat. Bowes just streams outside the defensive 50, kicks up the Hickey stand side, looking for Dangerfield. Ball got out the back, so did Dangerfield. Kicks inside the 50. It'll bounce for Mackay, sits up for him. Handball to Thomas, slips the tackle. Handball to Zeeble, back to Mackay, just hacks it down the line blindly, and Dangerfield dives into mark.
Just a really terrible, lazy kick from Mackay. He had much more time than that. He didn't need to just hack it forward. It's playing into Geelong's hands every time.
Dangerfield comes inboard to Zach Guthrie. The only Guthrie out there comes to Atkins, who kicks inside 50. Harry Mackay. Sorry. Ben Mackay this time taking the mark. His brother Harry later today.
He marked the ball. He couldn't play on for one reason. They had no one forward of centre. The first thing that North have to do, address at half-time, if they can not do it now, is to line your players up and don't fall back on yourself, because at the moment it's just really killing any thought of scoring. It's almost like we're not going to score, we don't want Geelong to score, and we're not going to score. It's quite dismal. This is not doing football any good at all.
Kick down the line, out of play, it'll be thrown back in. Perhaps the most surprising thing about it all, Mick, is Geelong have only kicked one goal.
Well, they mucked around with the ball. They've teased, as you said before. It's only...
Bit of lair rising from the Cats.
It almost is.
Stanley takes front spot at the throw-in out on that Hickey stand side. It'll be tossed back in. North Melbourne kicked it behind. That was Paul Curtis at the 1 minute mark of the opening term. Geelong kicked a goal at the 6 minute mark through Ollie Henry. They've dominated possession since, and we haven't had any further scoring in the intervening 10 minutes as Dangerfield wraps up Luke McDonald, captain on captain, and the Roos skipper takes the free kick, sends it wide, just inside the field of play to Stevenson, who's out at left half forward. Gets around onto the right peg. He'll look for Larkey, and he kicks it to three Cats. They all took it off each other. De Koning came over the top, brought it to ground. Curtis waiting for it to come out. And in the nick of time there was Bruin. Handball to O'Connor. Kicks outside the defensive 50, looking for Myers. Zeeble got a hand to it, saw it out of play, and in front of the North Melbourne interchange race on the race into the rooms on the outer side. It'll be thrown back in. It is the Cats by 46 points, 17 minutes gone, second term on Grandstand AFL.
13-3 inside 50s.
Stanley and Coleman Jones. Stanley backhands it, picked up by Dangerfield. His handball misses the target of Tanner Bruin. Now tackling is Tanner Bruin on Simpkin and taking him to ground. Ball up between wing and half forward for the Roos. Hickey stands side of the ground.
Well, it looks like North have dropped that nonsense about having someone behind anyway. Their numbers are now a lot different.
They come away with the footy here. Scott receives the handball from Simpkin. Looks towards full forward. Unable to mark to Koning. Spills to Zerha. Handball away to Davies Uniacke. Back to Zerha. Run down by close. Umpire says play on. Spills out to Sheasel. Sheasel with the snap. Bending it too much. It hits the post. And nothing. I repeat, nothing is going right for the Roos. 45 points, the Cats' advantage.
But you've got to make the things happen for yourself too.
Yep.
Certainly haven't done that.
Luck's the residue of design, as they say, Mick.
Yeah.
The one thing that is going right for them, they're up in the tackle count this quarter, 15-13, so we'll take the positive for them.
Well, they haven't had the footy this after.
I wasn't going to say that, Mick. I knew you would.
That's the optimistic view from the Carlton AFLW captain, Kieran Peterson, alongside Nick Malthouse, our experts on Grandstand AFL. Joel Peterson and Ben Cameron calling it for you. O'Connor's kick out wide's a bit of an odd ball in the end, out towards Stanley, who had the support of De Koning, who came from a mile away to pick it up. Sends a high footy up the line. Dangerfield got a knee into the back of Simpkin. The Roos co-captain's pulled up a little bit sore from that. Greenwood dives in on the wing on the outer side. The Cats just wrench it free. Stengel, a handball looping over the top to Myers. Got through the tackle of Scott. His handball only as far as Greenwood for North Melbourne. And now to McDonald, to Lazaro, inside the defensive 50, Young, all by hand, put Zeeble under pressure, back to Young, now back to Lazaro as he bounces off half-back.
He'll kick out towards the wing, and Pepper Harvey takes a nice mark on the logo.
Was a very nice mark, well-balanced mark that.
Harvey will kick towards half forward, looking for Larkey. Larkey bursts at it, he marks, tucks it under the arm, runs inside 50 and misses right.
Well, the intent was right. Harvey not only took a good mark, delivery to Larkey was excellent.
Yeah, Boomer said yesterday, he's not quite as quick as me. He's a bit more powerful and a better mark.
It's delivery that Nick Larkey probably dreams about and doesn't often see, and he just couldn't finish the work off, which is unusual for a bloke kicking it at 68% so far this season in front of the big sticks. Cats exit the defensive 50. Stanley reaches over the top and he's paid the mark.
Why? Because he got one finger to it.
Didn't have a great deal of that.
I was bemused when I can understand when the ball's coming down and it comes off your hand, but when you only get a hand to it.
So Stanley drops on his right boot. High kick up the Hickey stand wing. Henry in from the side. Ollie Henry takes a good grab. We know he's an aerialist.
Yeah, it's a good mark. Very good mark.
Radicalea coming inside the forward 50. Forwards across to Manhimmer. Henry will drop it into the pocket. Blitzarv stands in front of the pack. Fist from Radicalea in the end, who is keen to get ball in hand. Flipped out by Close to Myers in the right forward pocket along the boundary line. Squaring kick. Zerha's there. Jack Henry just stole it off him. He absolutely ripped it off him. Knocked it out of his hands, was first back to the ball and banged it through from the goal square. He just wanted it more, and he gets the result for Geelong. 10-5-65 to North Melbourne, 2-3-15 into time on in the second term.
He had absolutely no business getting to that ball, Henry. He was on the back foot when the kick from Brian Myers came in, and he just took off, and you called it really well, Joel. He just wanted it more than what the North Melbourne defenders did, and just through sheer weight of pushing forward and will to beat his opponent, he was able to kick that goal. But again, unfortunately, it doesn't say much for the North Melbourne defenders that the ball's able to exit the stoppage as easily as what it was and find its way to Brian Myers, who kicks to a 2-on-1, and Henry still makes it work. It's not good enough from North Melbourne at the moment, but terrific work from Jack Henry.
Last 9 goals of the game. Stanley leaping high in the middle, knocks it down, then sockers it on, and Myers will run onto it and take a sliding mark. Inside the centre square, flares it out, bows it right half forward, chips to Hawkins. It's like a dead set training run.
Oh, training's harder than this, mate. I'm embarrassed for North Melbourne. I really, just watching them trailing behind, I think, there's a few factors. I'll do it before Hawkins has his shot. One is that when Clarkson declared that he was coming back, I'm just wondering whether that was the final straw from just dropping off and waiting for him to come back, and that's a shame for Ratton.
Tom Hawkins tied out on the right-hand side. It floats like a sack of spuds out of bounds on the full.
That's a different one than last week.
One.
Yeah, we're working through the list, aren't we?
That has missed a lot, and that was something different from the Tomahawk, maybe taking pity on the ruse. 50 points, the Cats' advantage, 22 and a half minutes into this second term.
Thomas brings it back into play for North Melbourne. Kicks it to a big pack on the outer side. De Koning's over to knock it out of play, and it'll be tossed back in.
Well, you just hope in 2.5 minutes that North reassess where they want their players and maybe just make it a one-on-one contest. Even in the ruck there, they're just getting blitzed.
Out of the stoppage again, the Cats just into the forward 50. Blitzarv's hacked it in there, and Mackay takes a good defensive mark, shares it across the back 50 with Core. Takes a bounce as he steps across the paint, measures the kick nicely in the end for Lockie Young, who's held up right on halfway on the broadcast side. Then he's called to go. Pops the handball over the top to Harvey, who had closing in. Kick in field was a nice one, and he found Davies Uniacke between the AFL logo and the centre circles.
Davies Uniacke rolls around to the right, kicks it long to a big pack. Lots of hands at it. Roving Thomas leaves it behind. Mullen arrives for the Cats inside their defensive 50. Have barely been there. Stewart sweeping handball to Duncan. Handball to Bowes, trying to chain it up through the middle. Handball to Holmes. Handball to Myers. To Tanner Bruin. Running forward of the centre line. Kicks long. Stengle's out the back. He marks 25 out. Slight angle left of centre. And the Cats just overlap running through the middle. It'll finish with the Stengel set snap. Rolls around onto the right. And casually curls it home from basically directly in front. 3 for Stengel. The Cats out by 56. 11-5-71 plays 2-3-15. 24 and a half into the second. The coaching games record holder Mick Malthouse and Carlton AFLW captain Karen Peterson.
Well, I'm going to say that when that ball broke, that was a good long kick inside the forward line. It was well contested in the air. When that ball broke and fell to the ground, 4 North Melbourne players chose not to chase. So the Geelong players had ease of then finding targets. So the players in front, the North Melbourne players in front of that, they had a choice. Stay on the man or go and meet the player running the football. They got mixed up. Geelong were able to bring that ball, and Stegel finished it, but he could have hand passed it over. Anything. That is embarrassing. That forward line does not work and will refuse to chase. Refuse to chase. They're all sitting back, feeling sorry for themselves that here we are with 2 goals in the first 10 minutes of the game, haven't touched it since.
They've lost 13 in a row, North Melbourne. They lost 16 in a row between 2020 and 2021. They lost 14 in a row last year, but it hasn't been much worse than this at any stage during the last few years. It's out of play as the Roos take it forward.
Well, this is probably as bad as I've seen any side play this year, working for the ABC. So sitting up here thinking, well, do we talk cricket? No, the Poms are probably going to beat us too. So
we'll bowl them out, Mick.
Well,
I've got confidence.
Nanette says that. And I said, well, how come? We haven't had a wicket yet.
Tossed back in at right half forward, North into attack. Here's Zurha with a chance inside the 50. He kicks an absolute wobbler across the face of goal, and Henry's keen to rush it through for a minor score. 2 goals 4 now, North Melbourne. They've only added those 4 behinds here in this second term. The Cats 11-5-71. The spread is 55.
And I am assuming, Mick, that you watch your old mob pretty regularly, and they've been pretty ordinary this year.
They've had some bad ones.
Yeah.
This is as bad as it gets with effort. I'm just staggered at there's no such thing as ability required to listen to a coach say, run, chase, tackle, involve yourself. You're on a senior list, so let's cut to the chase. You're on a senior list. You are being paid reasonable money to do a job for your supporters.
On the wing, we're going to get another stoppage. Mick Malthouse on North Melbourne. The Cats by 55 points, closing in on half-time down here at the Cattery.
And we identified the fact that it was a focus for them before the game, and it's been the one area that so far you look at, and quite aside from the method, which really hasn't been there for 4 years watching North Melbourne, the effort, the want, the intensity, the urgency is just not there for the Roos at the moment. One man who has brought some of it's Davies Uniacke. He just dives on top of the football again. Perez got crunched, got a hand to Dangerfield, but the Cats champion was able to get his handball out to Duncan, and now to Close, who's bursting inside the forward 50, laying into the path of Rowan, who elevates but can't drag it in with his right hand. And it goes out in the left forward pocket, 25 around from the Cats' goal. 71 plays 16, North goalless here in this second term. We're 27.5 minutes through it.
Umpire spins it in, slapping it down Sherry, but straight to Myers, who snaps on his left. It'll bounce out of play, throw in deep in the right forward pocket. If want to get to a text from Rowley as well, we'll give you a shout out, Rowley, at halftime when we've got more time.
There's no one covering the goal score. I just don't get what North are doing here. You've got to protect the given area.
Sherry gets to the front, takes it out of the ruck, gives it off to Thomas by hand. Left foot kick beyond defensive 50. The Cats arrive, so too Simpkin. Wins the footy, handball away to Curtis. He can kick around the Hickey stand wing.
Kicks up toward Zurha, the opposite 44, and Stewart beat him to the ball. Couldn't keep it in though. It goes out of play, it'll be thrown back in. Just some light drizzle just floating across the ground at the moment as we look out to the east and the racecourse here in Geelong. 60 metres out from the North Melbourne goal.
I was at a game yesterday down here watching my grandson under 14. I think the scores were similar.
Tossed back into play. Was he on the right side of it,
Yes,
Nick?
he was on the right side.
That's what we like to hear.
He kicked 4.
Nice work.
Yeah, very happy.
Gotta love that. Here's Tucker from the stoppage for the Roos. Sends them to the pocket. Radagalia reaches over the top of Coleman Jones. Ford tries to keep it alive, and he ended up running into Luke Davies-Uniacke. Did young Eddie Ford. And it's out of play for a throw-in. Underneath the scoreboard, doesn't paint a pretty picture for Roos fans. It reads 11-5-71 Geelong. North Melbourne 2-4-16, closing it on half-time.
Sherry works his way to the front, but slapping it down Stanley. Ball on the ground, Myers after it. Blitzarves pulls it in, and the umpire holds his arms to his chest. We'll go again, 0437 774 774. Maybe a text can entertain us. Stanley slapping it down towards Blitzarves. And the siren sounds for half-time. Hard to believe, but North Melbourne, they kicked 2 of the first 3 goals of the game. They led twice by a goal in the opening 6 minutes of this match. But from then on, the Cats have just run away with it. They've kicked 10 unanswered majors through to half-time. They lead by 55 points. 11-5-71. plays 2-4-16. The goal kickers for the Cats, Stengel with 3, Hawkins and Ollie Henry with a couple, singles to Mitch Duncan, Gary Rowan and Jack Henry, as well as Brad Close. Just the 2 goal kickers for North, Luke Davies-Uniacke and Darcy Tucker. Mick Malthouse, Karen Peterson, I feel like you're going to have a lot to say about this.
No, probably
Not much,
nothing
maybe.
at all.
Yeah. Wrong way.
When it's 14-40 inside the front 50, what can you say about the game except if you're reporting for Geelong? 14-40.
Inside 50s, 40-14.
This will be a world record. They'll go 80. Particularly the way North are playing. North addressed one thing in that quarter. Their stoppages weren't as bad. I've got to say, they weren't as bad. They, I don't say it's want by a couple of players there. Simpkin, who always puts his head over the football. Uniacke puts his head over the football. The rucks are okay, but at the best. But it's a methodology. If you want to leave Geelong with Stewart, will win the best and fairest, and Brownlow, and any other award you want to give him if you leave him by himself. So at the moment, Geelong, 6 defenders, North 5 forwards, ball goes in there, outnumbered, and they seem to be outnumbered everywhere else. So, Kez, I'll leave it with you. I'm going to have a cup of tea and think about the cricket tonight, Benny.
I was going to say, if cricket's off the table, we might be able to talk F1 or the Tour de France or something else.
Tour de France, I can live with that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I'm happy to go there if this continues. Look, it doesn't paint a pretty picture. I think the best thing about North Melbourne is the jumper that they're wearing today. I think that's about as good as it gets. Look, I mean, aside from the obvious football, which you've just touched on a lot, and we've been banging on about it throughout the whole first half, every number on the stat sheet is not in their favour, and I won't waste people's time in running through those because it's pretty ordinary. The 2 most concerning things, I think, the body language of the North Melbourne players, and there was a passage of play probably 3 or 4 minutes before the halftime siren went, and Ben Mackay got led to the ball and he just almost gave up in the chase, and as soon as the mark was taken, I think it was by Hawkins, his hands went straight to his knees, and you had to look around. There was 2 or 3 North Melbourne players inside their defensive 50 doing the same thing. Now, if you think back a couple of minutes before that, Geelong were able to find 3 marks inside forward 50, and a couple of moments later, they're in the same position, and instead of swiveling their heads and showing energy and showing that they actually care what's going on, they've got their hands on their knees, and the body language, it speaks so much. It's obvious what's going on with their mindset if they're doing that.
Okay, let's go back to that. My opinion about the fact that the stand-in coach, and I've got a lot of respect for Brett Ratton, but when the narrative during the week is Clarkson has popped his head in, or he's spoken to a couple of players and this sort of stuff, have they just sort of said, well, he's our coach, we'll wait for him to get back. Subconsciously I'm talking about this because no one deliberately does this, but right now this is not the North Melbourne, the shin boner spirit of just let Geelong beat you because of they're better, not because they're more diligent, they outnumber you, they are more enthusiastic, they'll out-tackle you and they'll out-contest you. No, that's not the shin boner spirit that I've seen. And I'm just wondering whether that thing with the coaches, and I'm going to give them out, that maybe as young men they're just a little bit confused where, not loyalties, but what's happening in the next couple of weeks. Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? And poor Brett is now stuck in the middle, making change to the side, only to win games. But I just don't see, what you said was quite damning, there's no effort.
Yeah, it's the effort piece. And I mean, I haven't been in that situation myself, but from the outside looking in, if that is the case, that whether it's Clarkson coming back next week or Ratton's not, or whatever the situation is, it just seems to me that they're just lacking direction at the moment, and they're not clear with what the process is, whether it's on field or off field at the moment, which is why you're getting such a swing in mindset. Now, I mean, we're speaking, we could be completely wrong, but that's what it appears like. And the on-field example of that is on the halftime siren. Who was it? It was Aidan Corr, Coleman Jones, and McDonald. We talked about it in the half, in that second quarter rather, that they changed up the way that they were playing. They threw the spare behind the ball. They took it away. There was 2 spares in that very last contest, and as soon as the halftime siren went, there was hands pointing, and really, I wouldn't say that they were particularly
damning.
Yeah, they would have been. Yeah, hands pointing, and that again just probably speaks to what I was saying before around just lack of direction on field and off field at the moment.
Well, you're not going to win a lot of contests when you are outnumbered and the side is a better side. Well, they've got to face facts. Geelong are a better team of individuals than North Melbourne. Then it becomes down to how you team. Geelong's team today, we've said a lot about North Melbourne. Geelong's team today, they appear to be going out of their way to involve everyone. Like they're giving it to Zach too a few times to kick a goal and this sort of stuff. I called it before a little bit disrespectful. No, I've reconsidered. I don't think it is disrespectful. I think it's probably great respect for Zach Tui. So what they're trying to do is they know the game is won. They know that North Melbourne aren't putting pressure on. We're going to get this ball to our great teammate in Zach Tui, and we hope that he kicks a goal, if not more goals, as a 265 game. The most in the because players these days they don't miss those targets. They don't miss the things that are happening in front of them. Whether it's your first game, last game, or 50th game or 500th game, they really do tend to go out of their way to embrace that. For all those North Melbourne people who are listening, and I don't think there'll be too many right now when you're 10 goals down, it's quite damning that the club is. It was thrown around that maybe they should make their home in Tasmania. Maybe they should have gone to the Gold Coast. Maybe they are loyal supporters. I've been been down in Tassie when they played. I went down there with a lot of North Melbourne people on the plane. They're heart and soul people. They deserve more, and I say they deserve more than looking at outnumbered on the ground time and time again, and then. Just laconic type of effort then to stop a side going through. This is a narrow ground. You can stop anything you like through the corridor. Anything you like through the corridor you can stop because it's not wide. Yeah. Okay, let the wings go. They might get the ball through the wings, but when you outnumber the opposition, there was one instance where there were 17 North players in the back 50. And Geelong still kicked the ball 3 times to find 3 targets and eventually handed it off to Tui, who missed. Now, tell me I'm dreaming, but that's... I reckon, Benny, I've heard a bit about your football. I reckon you would have been dominating if that's in the case.
Defensively, I would have found a body, at least, Mick. Yes. I would have put an arm across somewhere and said, look, I'll take them. And tried to make
that's
sure
right.
we're locking up the D50.
I've spent enough time in the car with you going up to Adelaide Hills to know that you would have put an arm across the body, at least take one bloke out.
And the good news is, Mick, next year they're going to play a game in the Barossa. So you and I as the road specialists.
And McLaren.
Yeah, McLaren Vale as well.
Hey.
Big weekend for Mick and Ben and our road adventures next year at Gather Round, if we're lucky enough to be there. There is a story. I don't have the ability to tell it like Sam Kekovich, but the score makes me think of it. Said when he used to play down here, I think the coach let's say it was he and Blighty drive the car down while the rest of them got the bus because they like to stop and put a few bets on the horses and whatever. And he said, we're winning by 50 points at half-time. Obviously, they were playing for North against Geelong at this stage. He said, we went on to lose in the end by 15 points. And they said, what happened? He said, the bus arrived at half-time. So that was his standard after-dinner joke from Sam Kekovich. Couldn't quite give it the same delivery.
No, I know where you're coming from. Well, they were outnumbered 18-2 here, so that maybe Blighty and Sammy need to get down there as quick as they can. But anyway.
Yeah, we're going to miss the scones if we don't hurry up. So we need to get to the news here on Grandstand AFL. It is Geelong leading by 55 points, 11-5-71, plays 2-4-16 at half-time. Let's pause and get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Federal Government Minister Linda Burney says it's been known for a long time that the Robodebt algorithm was unjust. When she was the Shadow Minister for Social Services in 2016, Ms Burney wrote to the responsible minister, Alan Tudge, raising concerns over the debt recovery scheme. A Royal Commission reported the scheme is recommending a number of unnamed individuals be referred for criminal and civil prosecution. Linda Burney says there has to be consequences for those involved.
The Commissioner has said that this was cruel, it was unlawful, and it made innocent people feel like criminals. And I spoke to so many people when I was the Shadow Minister for Human Services. We knew the algorithm was unjust and unfair.
Australia's cyber safety watchdog says cyberbullying complaints involving children under the age of 14 more than tripled last year compared to pre-pandemic levels. May this year set a new record with about 230 cyberbullying complaints to the E-Safety Commissioner, and about 100 of those relate to children between the ages of 8 and 13. The acting E-Safety Commissioner, Toby Dagg, says they're often complex matters to navigate.
Almost always we see perpetrators being children, and very often we're actually seeing perpetrators who are the victims of cyberbullying. So the kind of offender profile, the sort of perpetrator profile, the victim profile is very complex, and it's growing more so, especially since the pandemic.
A group of Ukrainian commanders taken prisoner by Russia following the siege of Mariupol have returned home to a hero's welcome. The group of Azov commanders were handed over to Turkey in a prisoner swap that was supposed to see them stay in the country until the end of the war. But following a trip to Ankara by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Turkey appears to have broken that deal, angering Moscow. The leader of the group says they'll continue to fight and will have their say on the battlefield. The Syrian government has cancelled media accreditation for the BBC over what it says is biased and misleading reporting. The Information Ministry says the broadcasters failed to adhere to professional standards. A recent BBC story linked to trading in an amphetamine drug with President Bashir al-Assad's family. The BBC says it did impartial, independent reporting, speaking to people across the political spectrum to establish facts. A gunman riding a scooter has killed an 87-year-old man and wounded 3 other people in New York City. Police say the 25-year-old carried out a string of shootings in Brooklyn and Queens. The gunman was arrested after police recognized him riding around on the scooter about 2 hours after the first shooting. Authorities say they don't know the man's motives, but it appears the attacks were random. A businessman in the U.S. state of Texas is suing the state government there over a plan to install large floating buoys on the Rio Grande River to stop migrants. Here's the BBC's Bernadette Keogh.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is mounting a multi-billion-dollar effort to block migrants from Mexico. His latest tactic is to install a line of huge spherical buoys across the river, each more than a metre wide, with webbing below the surface anchored to the riverbed. But local businessman Jesse Fuentes fears the floating barrier will hurt his river tours, and he accuses the governor of exceeding his powers. Migrant advocates have also voiced concerns about drowning risks, and environmentalists have questioned the impact on the river.
The South Australian government says the Adelaide CBD's Western Parklands will be turned into a hub for people visiting Adelaide from remote communities. The site will be operated by the Human Services Department with support from SA Health's Drug and Alcohol Service. The government says the site will open from the end of the month until at least 2024 and will include cooking facilities, water, power and Wi-Fi. Human Services Minister Nat Cook says the facility will focus on providing culturally appropriate services for vulnerable people.
The ideal is that we connect people with a more appropriate activity for anybody who has found themselves subject to heavy intake of alcohol, and help people to transition to a life where they are able to participate in both this community and their own community.
And Australian golfer Cameron Smith is tuning up for his British Open defence, holding a 3-shot lead heading into the final round of the Live Golf event in London. He's at 12 under, 3 shots clear of the second-place group that includes fellow Aussie Mark Leishman. You're up to date with the latest from ABC News. You can get more news at any time by downloading the ABC Listen app.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stack, and if you like great stories and you enjoy sport, then I reckon you need ABC Sport Daily in your life.
It was an extraordinary achievement to win a tight finish.
You know, a really big, important chip shot, and he turned to Wyndham Clark and said, you know, be an athlete.
Yeah, I think many Americans over the age of 25 would not be across the Cavender twins.
I think these cats have used up too many of their lives.
It's a daily sports conversation, and it's called ABC Sport Daily. Find us on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Sherry lays it down in front, but Dangerfield steals it. Handball to Myers. That unique kicking style pulls it back, and Ollie Henry's on the end of it. In the left forward pocket he marks. Ollie Henry very casually bends it through on the right.
Flipped out by Close to Myers in the right forward pocket along the boundary line. Squaring kick. Zerha's there. Jack Henry just stole it off him. He absolutely ripped it off him. Knocked it out of his hands. Was first back to the ball and banged it through from the goal square.
It's like a dead set training run.
Oh, training's harder than this one.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Geelong by 55 points at the main break, 11-5, 71, plays 2-4-16. The Cats back out on the ground, warming up for the second half of football. The Kangaroos yet to emerge from their change rooms. Trivia time. Joel, this is your domain. You are our quiz master here on Grandstand AFL at these points. What have you got for us today?
One for 0437 774 774, Ben. Last week it was who's played at the most venues in VFL history, which was Jack Hompsch, the giant Port Adelaide and Gold Coast player with 21. Today, so this is current players only. For players who have played 50 games, the worst winning percentage. It is less than 12% of games won. So current players who have tasted, I guess, the least success so far in their career. To give you a sense, Eddie Ford is 0-14 in his career. Flynn Perez started 0-15. He's out there for North Melbourne today, but so you have to have played 50 games, 0437 774 774. Who's got the worst winning percentage out of any player in the AFL?
I know that Greg Clark at the Eagles is zipping 19.
Oh.
Hasn't played in a win through his opening 19 games, unfortunately, but more than 50 games, so that's what we're looking for. A question here on the SMS for you, Mick. This is from Michael. Not sure if it's your burner phone, but football team. Mick R.E. the North conversation. It's time to amalgamate North Melbourne and St Kilda before the new Tasmanian team enters the comp. Call it the St Kilda Kangaroo Saints. That's from Michael. You've got a mouthful of apples. So, Kez, firstly, what do you think of that? It's going back to the Hawks and the D's all those years ago.
Well, who puts the most money into the league? For a lot of money into St Kilda, possibly North Melbourne. I know North would be in there somewhere. There's too many teams, and clearly there's too many. And I say there's too many teams. There's not enough good players. Everyone goes, well, hang on, Australia's population is growing, but they're not all playing footy. Let me tell you that for a start off. And it's the bottom 5 players determine whether you win or lose, not the top 5. North Melbourne at the moment are lucky to find top 5. And that's been harsh, but that's been true for the year. So, should they go? It'll probably fall out over the years that something will give, and sides will finish in the top 8 regularly, very regularly, and the top teams will finish in the bottom 4 regularly. It won't be West Coast. They're big enough and strong enough and got enough money to be able to get out of it. Can North Melbourne get back? Do players want to go to North Melbourne? That's the question. Lowe did, which is really surprising. But outside of that, can they keep players first pick? No, they didn't with Horne-Francis. So I think it'll sort itself out in the very near future.
The strangest thing about that, remember the night Jason Horne-Francis was taken in the draft? He slept that night in his North Melbourne jumper, in his bed, Rouge jumper on, and a year later, he was gone. Rowley, I wanted to shout this out. Hi, guys. Taking time out to walk laps around a park in Box Hill while my wife, Jo, recovers in Box Hill Hospital. Played for Geelong in the 1960s SSB Little League at half-time. Thanks for the great call. Go Cats. Rowley, thinking of you and your wife. Hopefully your wife, Jo, recovers well. Second half, what can they change? What can they do, North?
Look, first of all, look at the stoppages. Secondly, square off backs and front, and cop what you. If you're not good enough in the forward in the midfield, just play it out. But at least when you get the ball in the forward line, have 6v6. I mean, it's a secret down here at Geelong. You cannot allow Geelong to have the extra one. That's it, and have a crack.
Third quarter about to get started. The Cats leading by 55 points here on Grandstand AFL. You're with Joel Peterson.
How much better or how much worse will it get for North Melbourne from here? That's what everyone's eyes are on at the moment. Zurhaar's been thrown onto the ball. He gets a clearing kick from the centre circles, and it's picked off by O'Connor for Geelong. Just in front of the back edge of the centre square. Sends it out toward the wing. Blitzarms rises in front of Thomas to mark. He's got options over the top. Directs his kick to Stengel, who marks on the numbers of the 50 and keeps it moving immediately. Lines the sticks up to start the second half off as the first ended. It just misses to the left-hand side. Geelong's lead 56 points. We're only half a minute into the third term.
McDonald brings it in, tries to wait a kick, but Zach Guthrie comes up and marks. About 55 out from the attacking goal at the Barwon River end. He'll set it up towards full forward for the Cats. Rowan a run and jump. Over the back it goes, bouncing ball. And under no pressure, slapping it through in the end is Lockie Young. And the umpire says that's deliberate.
Yep, he's spot on. That is just quite... I was going to say pathetic. I don't want to rubbish him that much. There was
Trap for young players.
There was no one in the goal square. He had to all he had to do was grab the football, run around with it.
It's popped through by Ollie Henry. His third. And it's all too easy for the Cats as normal transmission resumes. 12-6-78. Plays 2-4-16, 62 points.
He's got every right to turn around to all of his teammates, though, and go, well, where was the voice? So, yes, I'm on board with you, Mick. That was a terrible decision to make. But at the same time, if you've got 4 or 5 teammates around you and they're not saying, you know, go left or go right or go boundary or whatever the situation is, that's just a really bad error from the individual, but also from the rest of the line.
Spot on. And haven't we seen it today where there's just been lack of encouragement or lack of leadership? Yep, I totally agree. But nonetheless, I mean, really, you could have had a cup of tea in the time it took the Geelong player to get there, which I'm having at the moment.
Just English breakfast, Mick?
Yeah, English breakfast.
11 in a row for Geelong. After North kicked 2 of the first 3, Dangerfield tumbles it out of the centre. Sherry, who did the ruck works, the first roo there, picks it up at half-back, outlets the hand pass to Zurhaar, drives his kick over the head of a couple of Kangaroos and over the head of Ratugolea. Geelong with representation again. Bowes had it, lost it, spilled to Jack Henry, back to Bowes, pokes a 12-metre kick over the top to Mark Blitzarves. He's been busy this afternoon. He comes infield to Duncan, had it knocked out of his hands. He'll be waltzed forward. That's a poor mistake from Eddie Ford, just didn't need to do it. And Mitch Duncan will take it to true centre-half forward for Geelong.
Strolls up the ground. Chips it to Bowes, who has no one near him. 60 out from goal here for the Cats. Just waits a kick into the pocket. Looking for Hawkins. Well, gets around his man, drops the mark, then applies the tackle. McDonald picks him up like a little rag doll and puts him back on his feet.
Bowes saw that beautifully then. He had McDonald on Hawkins, so he just popped it up in the air. Normally Hawkins would just swallow that because he's a bigger man.
Forward 50 stoppage. Sherry and Stanley comes down towards Myers. Coming through Stengel. Sherry's able to pick it up. Handball out to Thomas. Taran Thomas running along the boundary. Flicks a handball over the top. The Cats are there. Atkins spins into trouble. Handball away. And then handball towards Bowes, who flicks it on in turn again.
Socket inside forward 50 by Myers. Picked up by Greenwood. Inside the back arc for North Melbourne. Handball to Young, who just dropped it cold. Luckily, there was no one around him, so he could go back and pick it up. To Perez. And now to Scott. Kicks down the line. Jack Henry slides in. And takes it inside the chalk in front of the Hickey stand. Now go the reverse horseshoe here, Geelong. Ratugolea. Across to DeConing at centre-half back. Lofts his kick out wide. Blitzarves has got front spot and claims it easily over Stevenson. Busy start to this third term for Mark Blitzarves. He's got it just in front of the wing.
Gives it off to Zach Guthrie. He'll kick into the pocket. Ollie Henry hands to it and clipped high. He'll get a free kick. 47 out, 45-degree angle right-hand side.
Jeez, he's been good today, Henry, hasn't he? He looks really dynamic up forward and he just seems to have more pace in the forward line than what any of the Kangaroos defenders have, and he's taking him to the cleaners.
I think I reckon he's a good player, but he plays very good against poor sides.
Ollie Henry will lark out slightly to the right. Pulls his kick. It'll be across the face. flying up, knocking it down Rowan towards the goal square. Taran Thomas, handball away. Sherry gets a handball away. Scott, almost an Irish solo sort of kick. It goes a metre to his teammate. And he's tackled quickly. Ball up. Left forward pocket for the Cats.
We can put the tape on for the first half and leave it, just go home, because it's 1-5 inside front 50.
Off the stoppage, Dangerfield picks it up, whips it around the body to full forward. They all go up. No one could drag it in. Henry, he was there. Handball back toward full forward. Tackle from Atkins. Geelong deep inside forward 50. Hawkins and Mackay shoving each other. All locked up. 20 metres out from the Cats' goal. 62 to the good. Blitzarves off the pack. Had it poked away. Hawkins just throws a boot at it. Goes up and down the mine shaft. And Sherry smashes it through for a rushed behind that makes the margin 63.
A reminder for those of you with us in WA, Fremantle and Carlton, to follow this fixture from Perth Stadium. Last game of round 17. Thomas with the kick in. A high ball out towards the wing. Cooper Harvey at the back. Marks on his chest. He'll chip it infield. The kick a little too high for Lazaro. Knocking it down Duncan. Away to Atkins. Handball to Zach Guthrie. Blitzarves attacking edge of the square. Handball inside 50 for Myers. On his right. Dribbles it to full forward. Can't able to gather. There is Rowan. Dumping it on the boot. Hawkins. It'll go right to the goal line and picked up there by Mackay. He'll kick for the Roos to the right back pocket. Mark taken by Scott.
About the only time that kind of move that Hawkins pulled hasn't worked so far for Geelong. There was just no one there. Scott to Young. On the diagonal infield to Zurha. Bailey Scott's continued to move down that outer side wing. Handball made it tricky for Davies Uniacke, and then infield almost turned over. Atkins lays the tackle and holds up Charlie Lazaro. Played his footy just out the back at St Mary's, the ground that's just behind Kidinia Park, between this ground and Latrobe Terrace, the western side of the stadium. Up it goes. Stanley slaps it down straight to Bailey Scott, locked up on the AFL logo. Hickey stands side. Cats by 63. 7.5 gone in the third.
Sherry lays it down for Luke Davies-Uniacke. Able to get a handball out, but straight to O'Connor. Wrapped up. Matt from St Kilda says, is Luke Davies-Uniacke the player with the lowest win percentage? No.
In the ballpark, though.
Yeah.
In the
Good
ballpark. Guess.
Clearing kick from Zurha for the Roos towards half forward. Attacking it to Koning. O'Connor onto it. Gets a handball out. Here is Davies-Uniacke. Bursting away from them. Handball away to Young. Stabs it towards Larkey. Bouncing ball. It'll skip through for a behind. A minor score.
Well, Benny, this is just... There is a change. North have got 6 forwards and they're keeping them there. And that is changing it up, because that means that now Geelong have got to defend every player without having the assistance of a steward or whatever.
I think the only other change is Zach Tui's out there in long sleeves in the second half. Maybe a little bit chilly with the rain coming down at half time. Swings it across the defensive 50 to Jack Henry, who's played a leading role. So too's this man, Blitzarves. That's the direction of the kick. Picks it up off his bootlaces just inside the field of play. Turned it over though. Lazaro takes it away for North. Handball to Zurha. Tumbles it inside the 50 and it lands in the lap of Larkey, who's 40 metres out, slight angle to the right.
Well, that's one, getting the ball there quick, having 6 forwards, 4 to the ball, 6 defenders, and Geelong didn't man him up. So, as a consequence, we might have wasted the first half talking about this, but at least it gives them a shot on goal.
So 42 goals, 15 on the season for Nick Larkey. He's been starved to opportunity today. He got awfully close to the man on the mark, but he makes it work. And Larkey's on the board with North Melbourne's first goal since the 6-minute mark of the opening term. More than 2 quarters of footy later, the Roos are back on the board. 3-5-23 to the Cats 12-7-79. The margin 56 points. Your experts on Grandstand AFL. And Mick Malthouse and the Carlton AFLW captain, Karen Peterson.
I hope that's a sign of things to come for North, because we need to see it. We're a bit bored up here watching, particularly in that first half. But I like the point that you made about them stretching the ground and making it big and making the Geelong defenders accountable, because they certainly weren't that in the first half. So, like he got lucky, it wasn't a particularly great forward 50 entry, but you're right, in the position that he held and the fact that there was actually representation forward of the ball allowed that pretty average kick to pay off for them.
Can I clap because no one else did out there. So there was no North Melbourne. So I want to applaud that. Good. It was a very, you're spot on how it was. It was orchestrated, not in great fashion, but at least they kept their numbers there.
Ends a run of 11 straight goals by Geelong in this contest. Stewart with a free kick from the restart, sends it to Blitzarves. Between the logo and the centre circle, stabs it to Hawkins. Feeds the handball to Zach Guthrie, looking for a leading target, trying to thread it to Ollie Henry. Off hands, comes to the back, Stengel running, snapping in the right forward pocket, can't bend it back enough. Just sneaks it through for a behind in the end. Cats by 56, they're going to check as well. We have a winner.
Yes.
Chris in Butler, which is in Perth of WA, says Ben Mackay, 63 games, 7 wins, 1 draw, and 55 losses.
Yep.
11.9% win rate.
The 8th worst win rate of all time in AFL VFL history. Ben Mackay.
I've got a really good question for people to know.
Ooh.
I'd love them to see it.
We'll judge that.
Okay. What's happening? So they're checking this. I'll give you the question.
Yep.
2 brothers played for their respective teams' first ever VFL premiership.
Review complete. Looking at these angles, we can see a gap between the ball and the behind post, and there is no deviation as it goes past. Decision on the scoreboard.
Yeah, so different clubs, obviously, given you said respective clubs' first premierships.
VFL and their brothers.
I like it.
It's going to add some intrigue to the afternoon. Much needed.
Yeah, well, we'll get people. You watch them go through the record books now.
0437 774 774. Minor score to Stengel makes the margin 57. The Roos bring it back in. Flynn Perez, the Sandhurst Dragon, had to wait 15 games before he got his first win against Richmond late last year for the Roos. Kicks outside the defensive 50. Thomas is there. Handball to Davies-Uniacke, defensive side of the wing. Back to Perez. Chips it short and wide to Curtis.
It's slow motion, isn't it, really?
Yep, it's all just stopped in front of him. So he hoists his kick high to half forward. Sherry the target. De Koning read it well. Had it slip out of his grasp. Zerha handballs it forward to Larkey, who kept it moving out toward Tucker. They can't keep it in though, the Roos, and it'll be tossed back in 65 metres out from their goal at right half forward.
Jack sitting on the exercise bike in Seminyak, Bali, working off a few bintangs, listening to the call. Keep up the great work.
What is he doing with an exercise bike in Bali?
I'd be sweating. Sweating bullets in the humidity up there from the throw-in. Live footy at half forward here for the Roos. Trying to hold it in his Greenwood. Umpire circling. He'll come in and ball it up.
What did Kramer say? It's like a sauna in here.
Yeah. 57 points. The Cats' advantage.
6 forwards, yes, they've got their 6 forwards forward. Now just get it ball in there and make Geelong earn it.
Goes in, spits around, Davies-Uniacke, handball away towards Eddie Ford. Now going after it, shoveling it out. There is Perez, but the Cats win it again. Zach Guthrie away to Holmes, and they move it down the western wing.
They can chain it forward. Ollie Henry had a bit of a fresh airy, though, trying to soccer it forward, and Bailey Scott was able to swoop in and pick it up for North Melbourne. Handball to Lazaro, handball to Zerha, inside the forward 50. Radicalea bumped Coleman Jones out of the way. Larkey got out the back. They won't get a boot to it, though. And Jack Henry sees it across the line for a rushed behind. North Melbourne 3 goals, 6-24. Geelong 12, 8, 80, 56 the margin once more. 14 minutes gone third term. Grandstand AFL.
Free kick there to North Melbourne, wasn't paid. Umpire probably needed the 8th umpire there to see that, but it was the 4th one was right in front. Couldn't have possibly missed it. It was a big push in the back to Larkey.
Stewart with the kick in the Ollie Henry direction. Up he goes and brings it down. Have received some texts about how the 4 umpires are working. That's your answer. The kick to the logo, punched on by Greenwood. Close will run onto it if he can get it to sit. Keeps paddling it. Rowan arrives, gathers the footy. Handball too hot for Myers, misses him. Out of play at right half forward. Jeff in Lombok in Indonesia, love your commentary. How can North be so different in the space of 7 days? There are big problems in the North Melbourne camp.
Yep.
Geelong by 56, nearly a quarter of an hour into this third term.
Tossed back in. Blitzarves takes it out of the ruck. Handball straight up and down. Taken by Davies-Uniacke. Away to Young. To Perez, who's been busy here in this term. To Scott. Kicks across the defensive 50. Straight to Mullen. Goes back inside the arc. Looking for Ollie Henry. Tracks it to the left forward pocket. Keeps it alive, but then stepped out of play. It'll be tossed in 30 around from the Cats' goal.
Blitzars has been very busy this term. He's just making his way to the bench. He's had 7 touches and 3 inside 50s, up to 18 for the game.
That ball was kicked out to Stevenson. Once it missed him, he stopped. He must have dropped his $2 coin, I reckon, looking for it, because he never went near it.
Tossed back in. Hawkins out of the ruck. He hooks it toward goal, and it's beaten a lot. Henry could have marked it. Zeeble could have touched it. Tom Hawkins just kicks his third all too easily. 13-8, 86 to North Melbourne, 3-6, 15 and a half gone in this third term Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company on ABC Radio Perth and Western Australia, and of course via the ABC Listen app.
How often has he done that, Tommy Hawkins? And I've got to watch the replay, but he's able to nestle his body in generally behind the ruckman, hold them off. But once he takes it out of the air, no one goes near him, and he's so deadly. He knows where the goals are, clearly. Yeah, he's just done it again. Just move the ruckman under the ball and makes it easy.
Back to an equal game-high margin of 62. Answer to your question. So, 2 brothers who played in their respective clubs' first premiership.
Mm-hmm.
Lee in Glenorchy of Tasmania says Troy and Shane Bond, West Coast and Adelaide.
They said VFL.
Okay.
So, it's AFL.
Yep. Brad Close, but no cigar for you, Lee.
And can I just say, he's wrong, because Bond's second one was 1994, so Shane Bond was 1994, which West Coast second goal. Again, the goal.
The Cats win it across half-back, and Stewart chips to Myers, who gives it off to Bowes. Little handball over the head. Now Myers feeds a handball forward to Atkins. Atkins, he'll kick laterally and out to Dangerfield. Wide out. High left half forward, floats a kick inside 50, and it pitches just in play and tumbles out. Nothing for you, Kez.
Got nothing.
Just a wounded duck again. Throw in left forward pocket.
Am I reading it right? That it does travel further from left to right, doesn't it?
I think with the northwest wind, which is what we've got this afternoon, it sort of comes in from behind the scoreboard here, so the open end of the stadium.
Yeah.
So the sort of northwest from that way that's pushing it toward the Barwon River. Thrown back in. It's a shallow throw in as well. Bounced nicely for Brian Myers. Dragged off it by Thomas. Cats fans want a free kick. Zerha thumps it outside the defensive 50 out of bounds on the full. That'll come back in. Sheen Mullins clearly not quite adept with the rules just yet, the Irishman. He ran away thinking, that'll just be thrown back in. No, Sheen, it's your kick out at left half forward. So he loads up and sends it as long as he can toward Henry, and he sent it too long, in fact. He put it straight back out of bounds on the full, and Zeeble will take it from full back for North.
Well, there's an indicator. That's gone 60 metres, isn't it, that kick?
Zeeble kicks laterally, left back pocket. McDonald takes it, runs with it, touches it on the ground and shorts it to Scott. Scott looks further afield. The Cats are there. Jack Henry goes up, drops it. DeConing the first to arrive. Handball for the Cats away to Bowes, to O'Connor, and they're queuing up. Brad Close takes the mark. He's immediately tackled, and it'll be 50. McDonald was fooled by someone. He thought there was a call of play on, ran straight up to him, tackled him, and Brad Close will be marched to the goal line and will easily pop through what will be his second, and will extend this out to 68 points. 14-8-92, plays 3-6-24. 19 minutes into the third term, the Cats by 68, as I said.
Just waiting for the replay to see what happened, because I didn't see why the 50 was given away, but it's a pretty bad mistake to make, isn't it, when you...
Well, they've made 3 or 4. You've got to remember the one in the goal square where he punched it through. Then you've got there's a couple of other 50s.
Yeah, there's a 50 up here on the half-back line as well.
So he clearly takes the mark. Oh, we don't. No, they're not going to show it. Clearly, I was just assuming that McDonald went in and grabbed him. So
he did.
Yeah, he wrapped him up.
If he did, he was one.
Not sure why though.
Well, he wasn't in the play, unless he's heard play on. But I mean, he'd be the only one that did.
He's the lone captain out there, with Jai Simpkins going to sit out the rest of the match for North Melbourne with concussion, unfortunately. So he hasn't played this third term, and he won't be out there for the Roos. Cats take it out of the middle once more. Myers had a play at it at half forward, got it to Atkins, around the body to Tui, high kick to full forward. Rowan charges out, can't take the mark. And Thomas just blasts it back the other way as far as he can. Bose stands under it, couldn't pull it in. Spills to Mullen. Handball forwards, a dangerous one for Tui. It's pinched by Zerha. Low kick down the line toward Larkey. Got pushed into it by De Koning. Umpire said it was okay. Guthrie to Bruin. Back to Guthrie. The Cats away through the middle.
Sweeping handball across to a teammate in Holmes who can kick inside 50. Bouncing ball for Dangerfield. Dangerfield gathers. Feeds a handball back into the middle of the ground and Zach Guthrie. He'll send it to the pocket looking for Hawkins. Mackay in front. Takes the mark. Left back pocket. Dangerous switching kick. It just gets to Tucker in the right back pocket. Tucker on his left will send it beyond the defensive arc for the Roos. Mark taken by Ford. Handball feeding forward to Coleman Jones.
Sheasel's forward of the footy. Kick hits him up on the chest. Just forward of the wing on the Hickey stand side.
Has he been moved forward, do you think? I'm just trying to trace their back six.
Yeah,
just to give him a bit more life up on the forward line.
I think Sheasel has been moved forward. We've seen him do it a couple of times this year. Played a lot of footy as a junior, as a forward as well. Kicks inside the 50 here, but only just. Radigalia comes sprawling out. He looks a little bit sore as he tries to find the footy at his feet. Davies Uniacke crashes through. Atkins slides in. He can't take it. De Koning's pushed out of play. And we'll have a throw in just inside the forward 50 for the Roos. They attack to the city end here in this quarter. 14-8-92 Geelong, 3-6-24 North Melbourne. Joel Peterson and Ben Cameron with you on Grandstand AFL. Kieran Peterson, Nick Malthouse, your experts.
Done it again. They've got an extra play behind the ball, North, and I'm still trying to work out how you're going to save a 10-goal defeat. Why don't you just get the ball forward and see if you can score?
From the throw-in. Ball bobbles around, eventually picked up by Atkins. Handball away to Bose, who gives it off away to Holmes, and now Myers. Same kicking style, but on his left. Turns it over. Zeeble can take the mark on his chest, right beneath the Reg Hickey stand wing.
If he looks up, he's got North Melbourne, he's got Geelong players all in front of him. They've got to get representation, North Melbourne.
Brought into the game as the sub in the early stages after they lost Griffin Logue to injury. Coleman Jones reads it nicely off the pack. Handball's inside the forward 50. Ford got pushed off it. Henry's gang tackled. Harvey and Ford both in there to wrap him up. Jack Henry wasn't moving out of that. And a ball up 35 metres out from the North Melbourne goal. Maybe the best of the really deliberate entries they've had so far in terms of an opportunity to lock it up. Holmes at the stoppage. Goes sideways into the tackle from Greenwood. Ball emerged, but only momentarily before it's dragged back into the mess. And we'll have it thrown up once more.
Cats have activated their tactical sub. Blitzarves off. Dempsey on, no injury.
That's fair.
You have leather poisoning after he starts the third term.
Shows how much they value Mark Blitzarves down at the Cattery. The Cats emerge with it again. Bursting off halfback. There is Ollie Dempsey, and he turns it over with a kick into the middle. Darcy Tucker onto the footy on the wing here for North. Sends it inside 50. Trying to find Davies Uniacke. Ball bobbling around. Lazaro goes in. Sheasel comes through. Gets a handball out. And a free kick picked out in amongst all of that. They'll take the advantage. Flynn Perez, flying shot on goal.
It's a long goal.
And he puts it through. He was bundled over by Gary Rowan as he got the kick away. His first goal in AFL footy, and it's one to remember from downtown.
That was a great goal. Really. I've defied the...
Has the wind changed,
well,
Mick?
Well, he made it change. That was a terrific goal. And the good contest there by North, all the way along. There was a contest, and they forced the error. And once they then had a free player out, and they got the free kick on the 50-metre line, but the ball spilled out. And why not take the advantage, especially if you're a long kick like that? No, that was very, very well played by North. Seeing where he comes from, Bendigo under 18.
He's a Sandhurst Dragon, Nick.
Yeah, well, I tell you what,
third oldest football club in the game.
Yeah,
Geelong being right up there, Melbourne as well, and Sandhurst have produced many a champion, including the former captain down here, in one Jay Selwood. Flynn Perez, he battled a lot of injuries. He took 15 games to get his first win. He's taken 22 to kick his first goal in league footy. Here's McDonald out of the middle. A nice mark taken by Harvey, who made it really tough for Thomas with the handball as he was cruising past. Cats let back in at half-back. Bruin had it and lost it. Mullen gave it to Myers. His handball ricocheted back to Zurha. Tumbles it inside the forward 50. Radigalia was grabbed by Curtis before he had the ball. And the Cats will exit here through Bruin. No, he stepped across the boundary line. And it'll be tossed back in. Left forward pocket, North into attack. 40 around from their goal. They trail by 62 points.
I mentioned the red wine earlier on that they drink in the rooms post-game down at the Cattery. It's actually led by Mark Blitzarve. So
he's gone down early. Is that what?
I think he's going to just...
Got a delivery coming.
Let it breathe. Just get it in the decanter.
There's good Geelong. Good wines around Geelong too.
Yep. From the throw-in. The rucks tangle up, holding free kick. It'll go to Stanley. He did tell us, Mark Blitzarves, that normally Chris Scott sort of comes and sniffs it out and will sit down and grab the good bottle of wine and say, I'll have one of these, thanks.
So I tell you what, the fitness blokes would be going nuts. They'd be pulling their hair out. If you're winning, it's okay, but if you're not winning, I bet you that gets dropped away pretty quickly.
All things in moderation, Mick.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. But I still say the fitness blokes would be... Honestly, alcohol in the system straight after a game.
Have a sports drink, lads, they'd be saying. Here's Bowes, who's got it in front of the interchange for Geelong. He's going to try and get around Lazaro, and did in the end. Kick up toward half forward. Ollie Henry misread that one, and Zeeble takes the mark for North Melbourne. Chips it short from the former captain to the current one, Luke McDonald. Bites a kick off on the diagonal toward Greenwood. Had the arms grabbed by Jack Bowes. And so it'll be a free kick to Hugh Greenwood, right on the AFL logo broadcast side of the ground. 62-point lead to the Cats, 27 gone here in the third quarter. Davies Uniacke, a horrible kick across the centre, taken away by Stengel. Just tried to surge it forward toward Ollie Henry, who was out the back. Zeeble cuts it off, though. Now Mackay and now McDonald for the Roos in defence.
Geelong by 62 points as McDonald kicks out to the wing. A good mark in the end by Bailey Scott. Lands on his backside and a little sore. Mitch Duncan helps him to his feet.
And then they go back with a kick, and this will go sideways with a kick. There's no penetration whatsoever with this. You're in trouble.
Crabbing around are the Roos. Mackay feeds a handball forward. Head of Taran Thomas, who's legged by Ollie Henry. He runs forward. Handball to Stevenson. At half forward, the Roos. Handball away to Zurha. Runs inside 50. Eyes the sticks. Pulls the trigger and misses.
And missed his teammate too by Larkey. Ran out and had space in front of him, 15, 20 metres. That's who he missed.
Cats by 61. 14-8-92. Plays 4-7-31 late in the third.
Oh, dangerous kick in from Stewart. It's cut off by Scott, who's immediately tackled by Duncan. Flying in was Ford. Wins the free kick for North inside the 50.
To say, put the ball on the ground and makes them very nervous. That's a good tackle, deserving free kick. I don't know what he's looking at. He's only 30 metres out. He should knock this right over from here.
Young Eddie Ford, 15th game. He's played 6 games this season, but only kicked 2 goals. Kicked them in round 9 and round 12.
Go around the corner. That's going to be an interesting kick from 35 metres out.
So he's in the left forward pocket. He's going to have to kick it right about 40 metres. He does hook it around the body, and that's a beautiful finish. Well played by the man they call Elvis. He shows he's got a move or two. And he cuts the margin back a little bit further with North Melbourne's 5th goal of the day. It's now 55 points, 5-7-37 to 14-8-92. We tick past 29 minutes in this third term.
He's Western Jets boy.
Yep.
There you go.
Love seeing where they come from.
It's a good reward for effort. It's something that we've been banging on about for the whole game, Mick, is getting reward, putting the effort in the first place, and then getting the reward for it. That was a pretty ordinary kick by Stewart from the kick in, but nevertheless, the North Melbourne players around the ball were able to affect the pressure and get the turnover. So terrific finish too. That's a really tough kick from the pocket.
From the Yarraville Seddon Footy Club, Mick. He got to the club and Jai Simpkins said, I don't know about those sideburns, and started calling him Elvis. And it's stuck.
He does have hair that's somewhat Elvis-like as Tui gets the clearance for the Cats.
Oh,
inside 50, Mackay, good pack mark.
That is a great mark.
Chris in East Perth responding to you. I'll get to that in a moment. Mick as Mackay goes short to centre half back and Lazaro accepts it.
I like Chris's question too, because it's the same thing I was thinking.
Sprays it out wide and Scott's able to mark. Western side of the ground here at the Cattery. He'll chip it for Larkey, overshoots him on the bounce. Stewart can't gather it first time, goes again. Bruin comes in, he's tackled to ground and a ball up. So Mick has posed the question. Two brothers played for their respective clubs. First VFL Premiership. Chris in East Perth says too young to identify the brothers, but assume the teams are Footscray and Hawthorn.
Incorrect.
Is it Hawthorn and St Kilda?
Yes.
Righto. That's where I was going with it, but I couldn't tell you the brothers if my life depended on it. Here's Lazaro diving on top of the foot. He grabbed and caught holding the ball.
Well,
poor Charlie back in his hometown. Didn't have a lot of luck there. Atkins came away with it, slipped over. Handball to Bruin. It's a little bit messy even for Geelong at the moment. Handball to Stanley, back to Bruin. And some light drizzle that's falling on Cardinia Park. Kicks up toward half forward. Core over the back, a push in the pack. Free kick to Jack Zeeble for North Melbourne, who's just outside his defensive 50. Just repeating, Zeeble brought on early in the game. Griffin Logue subbed out, and Jai Simkin not out there at the moment for North. He hasn't played this whole third term due to concussion. Mark Blitzarv subbed out of the game as well for tactical reasons for Geelong, despite dominating the start of this third term, and Ollie Dempsey's out there for the Cats.
North Melbourne at right half back. Floating kick from Zeeble down towards the wing. Sheasel trying to gather on the bounce ineffectively. And then Mullen heavily tackled there by Perez. Kicked his first goal in AFL footy earlier in this third term. Ball up on the wing.
The best performed Perez in the last 24 hours too.
Yeah.
Because old Sergio didn't go to flash in Silverstone last night.
I did see that
in the F1.
Piastri qualified third. Very exciting for the Aussies.
McLaren 2 and 3. Lando Norris on the front row.
Will Ricardo get another job?
I don't think so.
Right. Okay.
He's got a test gig.
Although, who knows? The way Sergio Perez is going at the moment, he's missed Q2 in the last 5 qualifying sessions, I think.
Stevenson away with the footy for the Roos, kicking towards half forward, trying to take the chest mark in the pack to Koning. End of the term. And it's not a bad one in the end for North Melbourne, considering where they've been 3 goals apiece in that third term. Geelong lead by 55 points at three-quarter time, as they did at the half. 14-8-92, plays 5-7-37. The goal kickers for the Cats: Stengel 3, Hawkins 3, Ollie Henry 3, 2 to Brad Close, singles to Mitch Duncan, Gary Rowan and Jack Henry, while for North, all single goal kickers: Luke Davies-Uniacke, Darcy Tucker, Nick Larkey, Flynn Perez and Eddie Ford. Three-quarter time on Grandstand AFL. More of your texts after this and the final term. This is Grandstand AFL.
The Australian goldfields were a tough place for women. But for these two sisters,
This is a bloke's toilet.
Well, your objection has been noted.
it's a wealth of opportunity.
So what's the plan?
Well, we're going to find rich, dumb husbands.
Preferably old, so they die soon.
If they can escape their past.
Focus, it's me.
You are mistaken. I am from Paris.
New ABC comedy, Gold Diggers.
Eureka! Just kidding.
Wednesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Towards full forward for the Cats. Rowan a run and jump. Over the back it goes. Bouncing ball. And under no pressure, slapping it through in the end is Lockie Young. And the umpire says that's deliberate.
Yep, he's spot on. There was no one in the goal square.
It's popped through by Ollie Henry. His third.
Lazaro takes it away for North. Handball to Zerha. Tumbles it inside the 50 and it lands in the lap of Larkey, who's 40 metres out, slight angle to the right. He's been starved to opportunity today. He got awfully close to the man on the mark, but he makes it work. And Larkey's on the board with North Melbourne's first goal since the 6-minute mark of the opening term. Tossed back in. Hawkins out of the ruck. He hooks it toward goal and it's beaten the lot. Henry could have marked it. Zeeble could have touched it. Tom Hawkins just kicks his third all too easily.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Great to have your company. Cats by 55 at three-quarter time. Bevan Norm loving your commentary. Geelong supporters wintering in Darwin. Go Cats. How good is that? George is from Cressy in Tasmania. I hope that's the correct pronunciation. North Melbourne are playing the worst game to date I've ever seen them. I've never seen them getting this badly beaten at Cardinia Park. Appreciate your text, George. Our experts, Mick Malthouse and Karen Peterson, here on Grandstand AFL.
You start, Mick, because I'm not sure where to start, to be honest.
Well, credit to North. 3 goals, 3 to 3 goals, 1. 3 goals, 3 to 3 goals, 3. So it was level. Given the circumstances of the game in the first half, I would put all pluses down for North Melbourne. I don't think Geelong for one moment, if the game had been tight, wouldn't have put it into another gear. Blissards coming off was an indicator of that. But nonetheless, North hung in there. And what we've been talking about all day was try to get your forwards to be competitive against 6 backs. That basically gave them a chance in the forward line. Every now and again they'd slip a play behind the ball. For what matter, what no, well that's up to the coach, and maybe to protect it a little bit. But I thought the overall effort there, and even the contested football that quarter was 33 to 35, North Melbourne's favour. Inside 50s, 15-11 against North, but that's a lot closer than what it has been before. Clearances, they got dominated. Geelong dominated the clearances, so you have to resurrect the ball then to bring the ball out of the back half. So I'm going to give North a big tick that quarter. There's a couple of players who are just, I don't think they're up to AFL standard, and they bubble the ball and probably cost North another couple of goals. But nonetheless, they had a crack. And you know, it's easier, I guess, for me to sit back and go, yeah, the bottom 7 or 8 or 10 players in North's case aren't good enough. But they've been picked, they've been chosen, they've been drafted. You just want them to improve. Hopefully today they will get a taste of what it's like to go for first half, really let down by leadership and let down by effort. And in the third quarter, I thought the effort generally was there. So good on you, North. That's the sort of stuff that okay, Geelong might have put the cue in the rack, but nonetheless, you still kicked more goals in that third quarter than you did for the first half of the match. So well done.
Do you think it's a bit of a concern that Geelong have put the cue in the rack? No,
because they've got the draw. They've got the draw from last week, and percentage probably doesn't really matter anymore. There's four sides that have got a draw. Let's face it. I know that Richmond, Carlton, themselves, and Sydney. So I guess with their percentage the way it is, it's miles in front of those 3 sides. So really, it's a matter of getting through the game intact. The way I see Geelong. Geelong have been around September for a long, long time. So they'll be in the. Yes, they will be. I think they'll be in the 8 tonight. It's up to them from there on in because they've got to play good, consistent football. But just looking at the side today, they'll bring Cameron back in at some stage, probably next week or the week after. I'm not too sure how many other players can come.
Guthrie's the only other one.
Oh, yeah, but it's still long term, is he?
I think towards the back end of the home and away season.
Yeah,
I think
so. You would suspect that Cameron will certainly improve them, but they'll need to be consistent against the better sides. I wouldn't write Geelong off if they make the 8. You wouldn't want to be drawing them in the first final. Put it that way.
We want an answer to Mick's question too. 2 brothers who played in their respective clubs' first VFL premiership, St Kilda and Hawthorn, were the clubs. The final quarter underway. Geelong leading by 55 points, and they come away with it. Stewart to Dangerfield, bursting through the wing, kicking long inside 50. Rowan going up, hands to it, doesn't bring it down. Now close, drops the footy under pressure. Coming through, Young, he gathers for North. He loses it under the pressure of a tackle. Holding the ball, says the umpire.
Well, the hangman from Ned Kelly could have done a better job. That was throttled. No wonder he dropped the ball. It's lack of air.
So Young stands the mark. Free kick going to Max Holmes, the unlucky party in last year's grand final. 17 disposals today.
Good player.
Right half forward. Drop punt on its way to the city end of the ground and nicking the post. Taking a deflection that would have sent it out to about gully.
Oh,
56 points to Geelong advantage.
Oh, it's a poor kick in. Close, almost able to pick that ball up. Young grabbed it for North, handed it off to Scott. Kicks high up and down to half back. They'll keep possession with Lockie Young, who ends up on the end of his own kick. Got it down the line to Larkey. Handball to Zurha. They surge it forward now, North. Sheasel. Handball back to Zurha. 70 from home. Out the back is Coleman Jones. Ratugolea was there with him. Pushed him off the football. And a pretty bad day for Callum Coleman Jones continues. Ratugolea picks up. Handball to O'Connor. Out of Tui. Geelong will just waltz it out of defence. No, Duncan's dropped the mark. Larky's been let in and he kicks his second.
Goodness gracious, mate.
It was the type of turnover we've seen at the other end a few times today. And North get their sixth. The margin 50 points the way of the Cats. 2 minutes played. Final term 14-9 plays 6-7. A couple for Nick Larkey.
They won't be happy with that, Geelong, and I think it's funny. The question I was asking before, Mick, around putting the cue in the rack, you just got to make sure that the intent with what you're doing still stays at the level that you expect. And I mean, all players are guilty of dropping pretty easy marks, but we saw down this end Gary Rowan probably drop one that he should have taken inside forward 50. It gets slung shot a couple of minutes later, and another unforced error for Geelong in their backline this time has cost them a goal. So they won't be happy with those sort of things, and they need to be mindful that the intent stays really high.
From the restart, ball down at ground level and held in, a ball up over the top of it. A tattooed Cam Zurha.
Back here next week against Essendon will be an interesting game. You're spot on about that, though. It's, sometimes you get a bit blasé about how you finish off quarters, but it's how you finish off games. Yeah, might be right.
Dangerfield flicking out a handball, looking for Tui. Atkins getting after it. Tui goes back in with his long sleeves. Umpire lets them rumble for a minute, and then we'll ball it up. Chris has come back, Mick.
Yes.
High again. Ian Cooper at St Kilda and Graham Cooper at Hawthorn.
He is spot on, but how many times can you have a shot?
We'll give him two. Two's all right.
Well, no, he got it. He got it right. He's spot on. There it is.
But I think he got it wrong the first time.
Well, he got it definitely
just the
wrong.
teams.
Yeah.
He was halfway to being wrong, but well done, Chris. Well solved. 0437 774 774. Let us know your name, where you're listening from. The Cats open it up here. Guthrie to Myers inside the 50. Henry ran past it. It'll get all the way out the back to Brad Close, who collects a skidding ball, slides it through for his third, and Geelong's 15th. 15-9-99 the Cats to the Roos 6-7-43. 4 minutes played. Final term grandstand AFL.
Too easy, wasn't it, really, at the end? You just wonder, when players break inside their front 50 and you're a backline player, the tip is that I would always be telling my player, get in a position where you can defend the ball, not allow your player to have access to it. So you're virtually making him have to work to the ball. Well, that didn't happen that time. He just found so much space. And he's quite quick, so you're giving up a heck of a lot if you don't man him up. 1 and 2 is if he picks the football up.
Umpire puts it aloft in the middle. Stanley lays it down for Dangerfield. Streaming out of the middle, left foot kick inside 50. And getting back, Young can mark for the Roos. He'll peel off a kick to the wing, going up Stewart. Harvey there for company. Down at ground level, O'Connor soccers it on to Dangerfield. Handball chopped off. Now Davies Uniacke back the other way for North.
Zurha, handball to Curtis. They run it forward. Handball was in between two Roos. Picked up by Sherry eventually. Back to Curtis on the edge of the 50. Slips a tackle, pokes it inside the arc and finds Thomas. 48 from home, right at the top of the 50.
It was a decent kick, Thomas. You should put this away. Curtis, interesting the way he was lackadaisical going through. Bad hand pass, but got it back. At least they butted up again. And I think that's the difference between the first half, second half. They just stopped. This time they're actually getting numbers to the ball and levelling it off with Geelong and making Geelong have to earn the kick.
Kicked a couple last week. Did Taran Thomas. Have to kick it from right on the paint of the 50. Hooked his kick left. That's out of bounds on the full. It hasn't scored.
Shocking kick.
That's really a terrible set shot.
That's bad run up, too close to the man of the mark, and the wind is pushing the ball across from left to right.
56
right to
points
left.
the spread. And I'm going to preempt a text we'll read out shortly, Mick, but there is one that is right in your wheelhouse coming up soon.
North get it back. McDonald kicks back into the pocket, looking for a marker. Nearly Curtis, unable to quite claim it. Gets a handball out towards a warmish sort of spot. And Duncan's carried down in the tackle.
I'm just looking now outside the front 50. North at least have got a wall. So if that ball comes out quick, they'll get it.
Radigalia doing the ruck work. Taps it down towards Curtis. Dribbles it towards goal and picking it up, carrying it through. There is Dempsey under a little more pressure than what we saw in the third quarter with Young.
Here's Tui, and the Cats fans want him to go the barrel up the middle. Couldn't get him to goal in that second quarter. Zach Tui stands in the defensive goal square and loads up. It doesn't spin as he'd hoped, but it'll go all the way to the middle of the ground and release Myers. And now Max Holmes with a bounce. He kicks inside the 50. Hawkins is out the back. Will it sit up? No. Maybe not quite how they drew it up. Nonetheless, it was effective and exhilarating footy for Geelong for a moment there, and a throw in left forward pocket.
He's having a good laugh too, isn't he, about his chuckling with Bose, I think it is.
Yeah, just running through the middle of the ground, laughing about his torpedo. How good is that? Milestone match for Zach Tui. Most games by an Irishman. Bringing it down, Sherry. Hawkins gets it on the bounce. Handball away, no one there initially. Tui onto it. He's run down. Getting him is forward with no sense of occasion. Party pooper. Eddie Ford. He'll get the free kick, Elvis.
Elvis not a fan of the theatre.
No. He'll fly with the kick out towards the wing, but Duncan brings it down, dumps it on the left boot, kicks it out of bounds on the full. And they'll get it back. Will the Roos in their right back pocket. Andy and Fremantle crawling under my house, installing subfloor insulation in the dirt, but I'd still rather be here than out on the ground for North today. At least I'm having a win, says Andy.
That's brutal. And Brenda from Creswick has texted through.
Good place,
Nick,
Creswick. Lovely place.
Listening from Vancouver in British Columbia on a 3-week trip with mum and sister. Love that the Cats are doing so well. It is a stunning place.
Never been to Vancouver.
I was talking about Creswick.
Talking to Creswick.
Kick down the line from Sherry out of defence for North Melbourne. De Koning chips it short to Atkins. I'd say Vancouver might be warmer at this time of year than Creswick. Just slightly. Atkins chips short to Duncan.
Just riding a bike out there to go for a swim in a water hole. They said at the time, just play on.
Turnover
wait for this.
As North go infield. It was cut off by Ford. He got it to Curtis. Oh, and then missing the hand with the handball there as they turn it over was Eddie Ford. Back in North Melbourne hands. Sheasel to Tucker. Gets on the left peg, sends it inside the 50. Radagalia's made good position. Larkey came across to effect the spoil. But the Cats have got numbers out the back, and Holmes just smashes it outside the defensive 50.
Tumbles a kick into the middle. Thomas able to knock it down. He gathers on the bounce for the Roos. Handball away to Davies Uniacke. Goes back to Thomas. Fumbles it. He goes back and gets it again. On 50. Bouncing ball with the kick towards full forward. Stevenson bursting onto it. Snapping and goaling. Something for the Roos. They kick their 7th major. 7-8-50 they move to. Geelong 15-9-99, and it's not as bad as it may well have been. It's 49 points at the 10-minute mark of the final term.
Taking your point about how you finish off, you know, sometimes I reckon at this end of the year, when they know they're going to win this game, and their eyes would be probably looking at Essendon next week, who may or may not be the difference if they win or lose today. That one of those sides will stay in the 8, one will fall out. And then sometimes your eyes start to you forget today's game, you move forward. I know it's a human reaction.
I think both of these teams wanted this game to finish a quarter and a half ago.
Oh, I'd admit North would be quite happy for Geelong to finish and then keep going.
They might have a chance of, well, in saying that, they're only 49 points behind now.
The free kick to North Melbourne here for a starting positions infringement. Brian Myers was inside the forward 50 when he should have been on the wing. So the Roos get a centre clearance in unorthodox circumstances. Long kick inside forward 50. Bose takes it off the pack, hooks it around the body. Luke Davies-Uniacke got upstairs, brought it down, handed it off to McDonald. Dangerfield's tackle released the ball to close. And now away to Stengel as the catch surge it forward. Stengel with 2 bounces, gets to 55, kicks toward Ollie Henry, marks on his chest. Has it been all run and gun from Geelong? but they can still do it when they need to. And Ollie Henry's got a chance to tie his career best with 4 goals. Set shot on a 45-degree angle to the left. 30-metre kick around the body. Henry's had a very good day. Gets his 4th for the 2nd time in his career. Geelong 16th. And the lead bounces back to 55. 16-9, 105 the Cats. North 7-8-50. 11.5 gone. Final term, Grandstand AFL.
Who's going to win the leading goal kick? I've just got Hawkins now has gone to 40. Taylor Walker's leading. Curnow. Larkey's got, how many has he got today? 2, so he goes to 44.
It's remarkable for Larkey in a team like what we're seeing, particularly with how poor their ball movement is. And I'm not just talking about today, I'm talking about the last, 13 game losing streak, that he's been able to kick 44 goals. It's remarkable.
Charlie Curnow this afternoon. He's second at the moment, 45 is Charlie. Larkey is third with 42. Taylor Walker, as Mick said, leads the way with 46.
Dangerfield fighting after it on the wing, flicking it out towards Holmes. Advantage paid. Forward handball to Dempsey. Dempsey chips a kick. Young fisted away. McDonald at the fall of the ball for the Roos. Handball to Zurha. Handball to Thomas. Handball back to Zurha. Gets it behind him, then puts it on the boot. Tumbles it towards half forward. Bouncing ball close to the line, Harvey. And he sees it out with Mark O'Connor for company. Boomer did tell us. How many tickets do you reckon they needed for today?
20.
50.
50? What, he invited all his school friends as well?
He said they've got 5 in their family, 5 in his brother's family, 5 in his wife's brother's family, so it was basically up to 20 before they even started.
Notoriously hard place to get a ticket for visiting supporters as well. From the stoppage at half-back, Bruin does it pretty easily and just waltzes down that outer wing, kicks to half-forward. Perez and Henry engage in battle, and Ollie Henry comes up trumps. Handballs onto Bowes, slaps it inside the 50. Close lost the run at it. Bowes just kept on motoring, picked it up, shot at goal and kicked another. He just kept on working inside the 50, then Jack Bowes. And the Cats push the margin now beyond 10 goals. 17-9, 111. North Melbourne still 7-8-50. 14 played in the final quarter. Grandstand AFL, your experts Mick Malthouse and Karen Peterson.
I will just give a quick shout out to Brad Close, because we haven't called his name very often today, but he's had some really important touches where, run down chases and he gets a hand and knocks it forward in the advantage of a teammate. So he's, what has he had? He's had 12 touches, he's had 5 inside 50, so I thought he's been really important for Geelong today, particularly across that half forward line.
And your 3 votes so far?
Can I come back to you? Give me 30 seconds.
Well, you better get practice, because you'll be doing it.
That's a hospital hand pass.
Correct.
Well, you only got one side to pick from.
That's true. Made it easy.
Coleman Jones tumbling a kick out of the ruck contest, but it'll come back a free kick to Stanley. A cheerio to Jared and Sue from Geelong on holiday, sitting in bed in Sweden listening.
Oh.
Stanley with the free kick. High ball inside 50. Wrong goes up. Off the fist of the defender. Comes down for Young. Dribbles a kick beyond the defensive arc for the Roos. Mullins there. Gets a handball out. Coming through forward for the Roos. His handball back into the congestion. Greenwood might have been taken without it. No free kick. Holmes soccers it off the deck. Back inside 50. McKay drops it. Stengel trying to get through. Going in Zeeble. Playing tunnel ball. Eventually shovels out a handball towards Ford.
He comes steaming through. Now Coleman Jones to Zeeble, or to Zurha, I should say, and Bailey Scott kicks long outside the defensive 50. Larkey made good position on De Koning, wrestled him off the ball, handballed off to Sheasel, who was riding shotgun. Into the centre of the ground for Curtis, had to work around Ratugolea, did nicely at the end. 2-on-1, 3-on-1 now favouring Geelong. O'Connor did well, pushed Sheasel off the footy. Stewart picked it up, taken high by Stevenson. Umpire said no. And now the Cats through O'Connor, can steady out of defence, drops it into the bucket. Gorgeous kick for Brian Myers, who marks it at left half back for Geelong.
Elsewhere, Essendon leading by 26 points early on in the first term of that match, as the kick's a turnover. Mark taken by Zurha.
Wow.
5-3-33 plays 1-1-7. The Dons leading. Zurha kicks into the pocket. Oh, Harvey drops a mark he should have taken. Now he's close to the boundary line and taken out. And a throw in right forward pocket. A moment the debutant would rather forget.
Yeah, he spent that before he had it, unfortunately.
He was thinking about his first goal.
He was. He was going to turn around, point to Dad in the crowd, I reckon.
Yep.
I think even the Geelong supporters wouldn't have begrudged him it.
No.
Maybe he can finish off here at some point before the end of this contest. Lazaro, inside defensive 50 for the Roos. Atkins takes it off the pack. Kicks toward the interchange. Mackay, who's done it.
He's done well, Mackay.
Yeah, a couple of boneheaded things throughout the day, but he's held up pretty nicely back there.
Yeah, I think under the weight of the numbers inside, it's gone 65 North.
Short from Core, turned it over to Rowan. Rowan's got Hawkins in the centre of the ground. Hawkins goes lunging forward, slapped it on intelligently to Stanley, who toe pokes it towards Stengel, running into an open goal. All he has to do is finish. And that's what Tyson Stengel does. A season best 4 for him, back to some of the form that made him an All-Australian last year. And Geelong's lead back out to 67 points, nearly as big as it's been in the game. The high 68 so far. 18-9, 117 to North, 7-8-50 through 17 and a half in the last.
We've spent a lot of time talking about North Melbourne today, but I think what Geelong will take from today's game is the return of form of Stengel. He hasn't not necessarily been out of form, but for him to be able to produce 4 goals today and it's been quite influential on the ground, that's something that they'll certainly want to continue his form building as they head in, hopefully into a finals position, certainly by the end of this weekend and beyond.
Sun back out. Restart in the middle. Greenwood just trying to get it moving forward for North. Dangerfield bumps Zurha off it and picking it up. Greenwood again. North at half forward. Nice step by Davies Uniacke. Runs to the 50. Kicks on goal.
Wow.
Brilliant goal. His second. A little bit of individual brilliance from Luke Davies Uniacke. It's back to 61 points. 18-9, 117 plays 8-8-56. 18 and a half into the fourth.
Yeah, that was a great goal. That was really a contested football all the way through. There's no doubt there about Geelong's intent. They had the football, was ripped out of, I think it might have been Dangerfield's arms, but it was just really strong play by North Melbourne. And a couple of times he was going to hand the ball off or kick the ball short, and he found himself on the 50 and knocked it over. A beautiful finish.
Backed himself. He's had 27 touches today, 13 contested possessions, 7 tackles and 3 inside 50s to go along with his goal.
Yeah.
Not had a bad day. LDU started the season like a house on fire before he went down with injury. North will get the clearance. Greenwood gave it to Sherry, who was tackled, and then around the body Lazaro goes inside forward 50 and Harvey takes a good mark going back with the flight. He's just inside the 50 and he'll have to kick from the paint of the arc.
Yeah, that was a good mark. Boomer's right, he can take a mark. Boomer didn't have to take him, he got enough ground ball coverage, but he had to move the Geelong player just enough under the ball. It's not easy to do. The Geelong defenders are pretty strong bodied.
So his captain Luke McDonald says you've got to move now, Cooper, because the shot clock was about to expire. First game for the son of the North Melbourne legend. He'll kick from right on the 50. It's on the way. It's straight. It's long. And it's the first goal in the AFL for Cooper Harvey. And he is mobbed by his Kangaroos teammates. His father so prolific over so many years. 433 games between the two of them. And now a memorable moment for the son of Boomer. 9-8-62 the Roos. The Cats 18-9, 117. And that's a little glimpse into the future for Roos fans.
I think even Geelong players went to him. Who's picking him up there? He's right on the 50 at the moment. I'm just trying to pick the Geelong player up.
Looks like Mark O'Connor.
It does.
It is Mark O'Connor.
Then you've got Zach Tui on this wing.
Back in the middle. Sherry trying to get a handball out to Davies Uniacke. Tom Atkins, the tackling machine, takes him to ground. Ball jars free. Umpire lets them play now. Blows his whistle to ball it up.
Surely the message goes out. Zach Tui, one out in the square. Send Tom Hawkins up the ground.
Get him a goal.
Put him in the cage.
In this milestone match. Sun shining at the Cattery. Stanley knocking it down. Atkins trying to pick it up off the deck.
It's not defined by goal kicking, though. It's really.
Sense of occasion, Mick.
Yeah, but is it a goal or sense of occasion or just to get what's he had? He's had a heap of the football. He'll probably get it. There he is. He's got 16, 13 and 3. Hand pass receives 11, which is one of the highs. So they're getting the ball out to him.
They tried to set him up earlier in the game and
I reckon they wasted
couldn't quite. Yeah, they missed their chance there possibly. Another ball up in the middle. Sherry hooking it down. Here is Tui trying to dive on the footy. Trying to wrench it free. Lazaro holds it in and another ball up in the middle. Merely playing out time here. Cats by 55 after this. If you're in WA, Fremantle and Carlton from Perth Stadium.
Here's Bruin out of the middle for Geelong. He feigned around Thomas and tried to bounce it in one motion. Handball back infield to Atkins. Kicks inside the 50. Henry upstairs. Can't quite pull it in. He lays the tackle on Young. Drags him down. Umpire circles and crosses the arms.
Stengel's a bit sore too, coming away from that contest.
All up at full forward for Geelong. They lead by 55 points. Umpire's just waiting for the rucks to nominate. Sherry came in from a long way away. Wins it down. There he is, Tui. Threw a boot at it. Saw a window toward goal, but Core stood in the way for the Roos. Kicks outside the defensive 50. Ratagalia keeps it in play. Stewart swoops in. Handball forward to Bruin, who can kick the Cats inside the arc.
On his left towards full forward. Big pack forms. Close hands to it in the end. Cleverly, Perez just sticks a boot through it for a rushed behind. So another minor score. 56, the Cats lead.
Am I missing something in regard to Larky? He gets mauled. Absolutely mauled, and there's no free kicks. Maybe, I don't know, some players seem to attract free kicks. He gets nothing.
Roos down the outer side with intent. Now a kick inside forward 50 toward Coleman Jones. Henry was able to control the football in front of himself and see it out of play for a throw in. He does a lot of work, Nick Larkley, with not a lot of reward at times.
Oh, I've just watched him today, and I reckon there's been 3 or 4 times that, a neutral ground, he could have easily got a free kick.
Just unlucky.
Yes, he is. That's very good. Here's Luke Davies Uniacke again kicking it toward goal.
Well,
that's through
that's
for a
what we're
score.
real bothered when those ones come out. The scoreline must be over 10 goals, is it?
55
just
points.
under.
55 points the margin.
Oh.
But it's been over there since the second quarter.
Ben Cameron, ladies and gentlemen, he's here all week.
Yeah, you've worked on that one for a while, Benny. We can understand.
I learnt last night our barista at Docklands is a stand-up comic.
Can he make a coffee, though?
He makes a good coffee. Long kick towards the wing from Stewart. Off the hands of the pack, it'll tumble out beneath the Reg Hickey stand, bathed in sunlight.
So what you're saying is he might not be a real good stand-up comic.
Yeah, correct. 55 points, the Geelong advantage. Umpire spins it back in. Sherry takes it out of the ruck. Handball away to Tyron Thomas. Handball errant. There to be mopped up by Brian Myers for the Cats. Backward of the wing, he'll kick around the boundary line, and mark taken there by Close for the Cats. Close to the boundary line. In what is neutral territory beneath the Reg Hickey stand, he comes infield. And the mark taken there by Stewart. The Cats chipping it around, short again to Duncan. Duncan will go back to Stewart, backward of the logo. 25 and a half minutes into the final term. 18-10, 118 to 9-9-63. 5 minutes to play in this final term as Stewart kicks to a contest at half forward. And McDonald's there for the Roos to take the mark.
Stands in the sun on that outer side, shields his eyes from it as it gets lower in the sky behind the Brownlow stand where we're located to the western side of Kinninia Park. Kicks long up the line. She's all the target. Taken away from him. Stewart there for Geelong. Handball to Bruin. Back on the diagonal to half-back to find O'Connor. He'll come across the back 50 now to Guthrie. 18-10, 108 Geelong, 9-9-63 North Melbourne. The Cats led by 55 at half-time, 55 at three-quarter time. At the 26-minute mark at the last, they lead by 55. Kick into the middle from Stewart. Finds Bruin in the centre circles. He lofts it forward to Brian Myers. McDonald knocks it away from him, but straight back to Atkins. Now out to close at right half forward. Pokes it into the pocket. Stengel's on the end of it. And he marks in the right forward pocket. A pace in from the boundary. 25 from goal as he just stretches a little bit. Tyson Stengel.
Yeah, if he goes normal kick, that's going to be hard. Right foot to the boundary. If he goes a snap, I'm just watching North's players now, see how alert they are. Game is 3 minutes from finishing. This is the mental state of the game. This is where there's no one on his inside where the umpires are. That's where he should be lined up by North players, so he can't play on inside, which he is not going to.
So Tyson Stengel goes the check side from the boundary. That is a superb finish. Stengel's got a handful of 5. That's the best of the lot. Beautiful. Check side finish from the boundary line. 19-10, 124. North 9-9-63. 27 and a half gone. Final term.
Yeah, yes. Great call, mate. That really was an excellent goal. Because the alternative was go left and swing it around, go right, do the boomerang, or 3, find a target. And credit to North, it had to be a great kick because they did cover all the exits where maybe a Geelong player was going to be.
Yeah, that's special from Tyson Stengel. Makes me want to go to the park.
What park?
Anyone.
What, never kick?
Yeah.
It was a big park over the back.
Would have gone out on the full though, Mick, near side. Here's Tara Thomas for North, winning it across half-back. Going after it, handball over the head, coming there from Myers, misses Stanley. Roos get involved, Ford's wrapped up. And on the logo, we'll get a ball up. 61 points to the good. 28 and a half minutes played in this final term. Umpire puts it aloft. Scott comes away with the footy on his left. Kick to half forward for the Roos. Going up, Coleman Jones is outpointed, although he'll get a free kick. Mark set 50 metres out.
He's got distance too in his kicking. Looks like he's going to have a shot. Use up 30 seconds of the remaining 2 minutes. That's a bonus in itself.
And a bit of a dirty day, Callum Coleman Jones.
Well, he's got a lot of mates.
Yeah. Not Robinson Crusoe, you reckon, Mick?
Not at all.
Callum Coleman Jones from 55, thumping right boot. It's away to the right. Pack forms. Tui attacks it, drops the mark, but bursts onto it. And the Cats fans love it. Handball to Bruin, handball to Duncan, backwards handball to Stewart, and a kick to the wing for the Cats. Off the hands of the pack, down in front, Tucker gets there for the Roos, dribbles a handball to Scott, 55 out, he'll thump it long, Ratagalia. Last line marks for the Cats. In the defensive goal square, he'll switch it. He'll send it out towards the left back pocket. Mark taken there by Bose, who will kick to Tui.
His family's probably back home watching this, you know. The Irish boys, they love to, their families love watching them play.
Tui kicks back inside D50. Away to De Koning, who sends it out to the wing, and a nice mark taken by Myers. Myers peels around and will chip it forward of the wing. Mark taken by Holmes. Cats down the Reg Hickey stand wing. Handball from Duncan knocked down. And the Roos back on it through Scott on the wing. He's tackled by Duncan though. And the umpire to come in and sort it out. 61 points, Geelong's advantage. Ball up in the last of the sunshine. Out on that Reg Hickey stand wing. Coleman Jones down to Scott. Kick ricochets off a body. Stewart has it, loses it. Spills out to Greenwood. He'll kick forward of the wing. And the mark taken by O'Connor. Another Irishman. Stabs it short. Mark for Holmes. Holmes will kick into the middle for the Cats. Mark taken by Duncan. Loops it over the top to O'Connor. Tries to get around a man. Has to retreat with the handball to Duncan. Lazaro gets him. Back to Bruin. Back to the wing and Holmes.
They can make mistake after mistake and still cover it up. North just can't stop the ball. Well, they can't stop the ball.
Kick to Myers, kick to Close, kick inside 50 and O'Connor. Now where's Zach?
It's in the left forward pocket.
He's hailing a cab down there. Only 15 seconds left in this game. It's in the hands of an Irishman, but the wrong one. He sends it to the goal square. Pack forms. Bounces down at the feet of Tui. He's not looking. Picked up by Sherry. Cooper Harvey handballs it through for a behind. And the champs, the reigning premiers, are getting back in position. They're in the 8 with a 62-point win over North.
We are Geelong, the greatest team of all. We are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played, at home or far away. Our banners fly high from north to north, down at Cardinia Park.
It got ugly early. It was 41 points. At quarter time, it was out to 55 at the half. 3 goals to zip in the second term. The Cats kicked 11 unanswered majors to stretch it out to 62 points. It got as wide as 68. North closed late before it finished at that margin of 62.
Geelong, the greatest team of all. We are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played.
So the song written by John K. Watts rings out around Cardinia Park as it so often does. The goal kickers for the Cats, Tyson Stengel with 5, 4 to Ollie Henry, 3 to Tom Hawkins, 3 to Brad Close, and then the single goal kickers, Jack Bowes, Mitch Duncan, Gary Rowan and Jack Henry, while for North Melbourne, a couple to Nick Larkey, a couple to Luke Davies-Uniacke, the second of those, a brilliant individual goal. And Jaden Stevenson, Darcy Tucker, Cooper Harvey on debut, the son of a gun, the baby boomer, and Flynn Perez and Eddie Ford, all with singles. A big win for the Cats that moves them back into the 8 here on Grandstand AFL. The games, the coaching games record holder Mick Malthouse and the Carlton AFLW captain in Karen Peterson. Their thoughts here on Grandstand AFL.
Well, I know Karen's trying to do her best with these 3 votes. Just looking at, it was a very even performance by the Cats. 30 shots on goal to 18, inside 50, 70 to 39, let's say 70 to 40, so it's 30 different there. It's a big difference. Players who need to step up and I think are stepping up for Geelong. I've just been watching Atkins go from what he started as a half forward, then he went to half back, then he's gone into the middle. And personally, I reckon he's probably been best on the ground. When you have a look at a player that he has 14 tackles, 7 clearances. Add on that to the old fella in Dangerfield who had 8 tackles and 9 clearances. That's 16 clearances between them and 22 tackles, a heap of possessions. They've lost nothing through there. Sometimes players, they get older, they leave a lot of the hard grunt work to some of the younger fellas, but Dangerfield's attack on the ball was just simply outstanding. Graham Myers, of course, got a lot of possessions. Stengel kicking 5 goals is hard to... he's back in a bit of form. Hawkins is Hawkins. He'll be accompanied by Cameron next week, I suppose. If he's not next week, it'll be certainly the week. Oh, well, you'd think they'd bring me next week on this ground against Essendon. Coning's still very, very good. Rowan's an enigma. He can have massively great games. He kicked that first goal. If he didn't kick the first goal, certainly an early goal, and it didn't even look like it from there on in. I just didn't see him. He's the most vulnerable on that forward line because Close is hard-working, puts pressure on. Stewart controlled the back half when he needed to. Uniacke, well, Davies Uniacke, I thought he was probably North's best player. it was a number of mistakes made by North, just the fumbling errors that then good side sweat on. They take the ball away. They get the ball inside the front 50, and inevitably, if you don't take the ball away from that back half correctly, you're going to give Geelong another shot at it. And they've got too many classy players forward of the ball. They only need 1 in 2 chances to score. And as what have we had 70 inside, and they've scored. What did I say? They scored 30. So it's a little bit under 50%, but nonetheless, they looked dangerous every time they went forward.
Certainly did right throughout the course of this afternoon. We are going to try and have a chat to Wally Henry. They're planning to do a presentation on the ground here for Zach Toohey, so we'll see how much of that we can take in here on Grandstand AFL. Zach Toohey just coming across beneath the members' side of the ground on the western wing. Both clubs staying out there at the moment. North Melbourne, a show of respect for the man who has become the Irishman to have played the most games in AFL history. Let's head downstairs.
Congratulations on an astronomical achievement. Of course, most games played by an AFL, VFL player who is Irish born. So congratulations. How are you feeling?
Just have an overwhelming sense of gratitude at the minute for a lot of people, all the Geelong people, Geelong supporters, and such a privilege to play for this club and to get mentioned in any way alongside somebody like Jim Stynes is he's a hero to me, and yeah, it's an honour.
And you've talked constantly throughout the week about the incredible support that you've received, not only in the last 2 weeks, of course, today has been absolutely... I couldn't believe it. I mean, every time you got the ball, you heard the roar of the crowd. It's been absolutely incredible. And, of course, here today we do have Jim Stynes' family. We've got Sam Ludby and we've got Tiernan Stynes as well. Now, of course, in recognition of this incredible achievement, one that you will continue to extend, Tiernan has something very special to give you, which is the match day ball. So I'll let you do that one.
Thank you, Matt. Good on you. Appreciate it. And this one's yours. Hang on, guys.
And we've got a Guernsey as well. Thanks to our little helpers too.
Jesus Christ. Thank you for that, mate. I really appreciate it.
And Zach, I know you want to say a few words to Tiernan, and you've got something to give him as well.
Yeah, you hold that for me, buddy. As I said, Jim's a hero to everybody, none more so than me and all the Irish guys, I'm sure. It is... Get away, buddy. My son is trying to steal it. As a small show of recognition and appreciation from myself, Flinnabin, do you want to hand that over? Give it to Tiernan. That's just a little gift from me to your family. It's very much the least I can do, but as I said, Jim is an absolute inspiration, and it's bordering on the slightly embarrassing for me to be alongside him. That's how highly I, and I'm sure everyone else, holds him. So thank you to the Stynes family.
Again, a big thank you to the Stynes family for joining us. And once again, everyone, please, a big round of applause for Zach Toohey.
Sorry. No.
It's a beautiful moment here at the Cattery, and beautiful words from Zach Toohey. Beautiful tribute, a jumper from Jim Stynes handed over on behalf of the Stynes family to Zach Toohey, and now both clubs forming a guard of honour for the Irish-born player who's played more games of our game than any other. He's applauded off, and rightfully so. He deserves all he gets. Zach Toohey, a good man. A taste of home through the PA speakers from County Leash. He waves to the crowd who celebrate him. We heard it every time he touched the ball today. What they think of him. All 18 disposals, roundly cheered. Zach Toohey waits for his teammates. His wife out there, his 2 kids. He's got the jumper handed over by the Stynes family. The footy ball as well, the football, I should say, which he hands to his youngest son. And they'll walk off as a family. A beautiful moment down at the Cattery. He descends down into the Geelong rooms, and his teammates will follow him. A lot of the Cats fans have stayed around, and so they should. Mick, I know you about as much as anyone I know love the history of our game. What comes to mind when you see Zach Tui walk off celebrated like that with what he's achieved?
Oh, it's just fantastic. Really is. I had the great privilege of coaching Australia against the Irish on 2 occasions, one here in Australia, one in Ireland. We are really brothers. And there's so many. When you look at our game, the MCG, there's a statue outside the MCG, and there'll be probably 6 or 7 men in it with the caps on and full length trousers and shirts and running forward. So it encapsulates what took place on that paddock 160 years ago, or maybe even longer.
Tom Wills and his men?
Well, I'm not sure it was Tom Wills, but what it was encapsulating probably the start of AFL football. And a lot of those people, that area, MCG and Richmond, was really working class. And a lot of the Irish, and I know my wife's ancestry and my own ancestry filtered through those areas from time to time. And the game was built on the back of... We all look at soccer and American football and rugby and think, Australian rule football is one of the newer sports. No, it's not. We're all created around about the same time, 1860s, 1870s. So that game evolved from a winter fitness to get ready for cricket and other sports, and it developed its own sense. So a lot of Irishmen would have been playing that game, and so it's not unusual to see the Irish actually follow our sport and players come over him do so well. So well done to Zach Tui. I think it's just outstanding.
Yeah,
it really is, and he's probably going to be an inspiration for others now to join. I know it's an amateur sport in Ireland, the Gaelic footy, but they just adjust so quickly to our game.
Yeah, if our games aren't siblings, they're first cousins, aren't they? The Geelong players are just heading down into the rooms. I think we're just waiting for Tanner Bruin, who's the last of the Cats players, to try and get down there. I hope they don't start the song without him. I think they are waiting for Tanner to get down there and join in on the song, signing footballs and giving them to young kids in the crowd at the moment, Tanner. So there goes Tanner Bruin down the race, and off he goes. So we will try and head down into the Cats' rooms. They're huddling up down there. Joel Peterson has headed inside and can join us from the Cats Inner Sanctum. Joel.
It's a family affair, Ben. Zach Tui's 2 young boys are here. Tom Hawkins' 2 young girls, as the Cats sing the song after a big win.
We are Geelong, the greatest team of all. Hey, we are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played. Hey, at home or far away. Our man is flying high from dawn to dark.
They came in dribs and drabs, Benny. So Zach Tui's 2 young boys led them in with Patrick Dangerfield. Tui was nowhere to be seen, and they were just keen to kick the footy. And then the older of the 2 boys ran up to Zach Tui and wanted to see that Jim Steins jersey, the jumper that he got presented as well. Chris Scott came across and gave him a big hug. It's all love down here for the Irish star for Geelong after that rather magnificent achievement and a pretty emotional presentation out on the ground.
We'll try and squeeze in a quick chat with Ollie Henry before we have to go. And in 10 minutes or so, we'll send you over to Perth Stadium, and we'll join Clint Wilden and the team for Fremantle and Carlton, that game to come. Mick, do you know the West Aussie who wrote the Geelong song, just quickly?
No. Come on, you...
John K. Watts.
Is that right?
Yep, the great John K. Watts from East Perth.
Yeah.
Came over and played for Geelong wrote the song. So there you have it. Strong link between East Perth and
so the songs are only recent, are they? When I say recent,
yeah, relative
60s, 70s.
60s, 70s, yeah.
So I wonder what they did in the... Geelong's been around for a long... When Geelong and Melbourne, I think, were the first 2 clubs. Well, I know there was other clubs, but... So then, I wonder what they did when they had a win. Just walked home, went home. Just got home and had a beer.
Let's go down into the rooms. Joel Peterson has been joined by Ollie Henry.
Have have indeed. Ollie, that was a pretty emotional scene out on the ground. We'll start there. Zach Tui obviously means a lot to this group. It's a great achievement. Tell us a little bit about what he means and how proud you are of him as a teammate.
Yeah, I mean, I've been here for a few months now, and Reg was one of the first ones to really get his arms around me, and it's so special to see him recognised as such a great achievement. And I'm wrapped for him, and can't wait to celebrate with him after.
You came in with a bit of intent for today's game. It was a pretty powerful opening quarter after North got an early jump. Was there an element from your group? We spoke about the response that the Roos would want to make. Was there an element from your group after the draw last week of wanting to make a bit of a statement of your own?
Yeah, absolutely. We thought that we need to start the game, and every other quarter we need to start with a great intent, and we did just that. And that's the way I think we're going to have to approach it from now on. Play 4 quarters and be really ruthless throughout all of them.
Your own game, an equal career best 4 goals today. The last time you did that, you were the sub playing for Collingwood. You do it here again for Geelong. You must be enjoying life as a Cat.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great, to be playing with such a great group. So many great leaders and people with such good experience, like Tom Hawkins and Gary Rowan in the forward line, Jeremy Cameron when he's back. Those types of players, to be learning off them in my hometown is such a privilege, and I'm just going to try and take it with both hands and week by week try to get better.
Ollie's got a couple of minutes before a meeting, guys, so I'll send it upstairs for a couple of questions.
Ollie, congratulations. Just I know this is a difficult question, but what's the difference between the two clubs, I'm not going to say clubland, but more so style, with Collingwood and Geelong?
Yeah, there's always going to be a little bit different of style, but a footy club in most aspects are pretty similar. We're pretty lucky to have such great surroundings on the Surf Coast, and we use them to our advantage. And with such an experienced list, there's a lot of trust in the group to do individual needs and a little bit more responsibility on the player. And Collingwood do it great as well, and they're having such a great season. So pretty lucky to be blessed to see both sides of it and learn from both.
Yeah. What about game styles?
Game styles, Collingwood's just great at pressure and forward footy, and it's a little bit different when you have to learn a new system and new players here at Geelong, but it's pretty similar, I guess. I don't know, as a forward, it's a little bit reliant on how it goes up the field a little bit, but
Well, I was just going to say, what about when you said about that forward line with all those players that you mentioned? What do you learn from players like, say, Hawkins, who's been around for such a long time, it's been such a great player, and then Cameron, he's playing his best football for Geelong, certainly he played at GWS. So what have you learned from that type of player playing around you?
I'm trying to learn to complement their game, right, and work around what they need to play a good game. So most of the time I'm trying to help them out, that's one of the differences in game styles, that when there's so much talent in that forward line with them players, how can I really look after them best and prioritise getting the ball into their hands, because they are such superstar players.
Ollie, congratulations on the win. It's Karen Peterson here. I wanted to ask you, obviously, great game by yourself today, 4 goals. One of your running mates, Tyson Stengel, bit of a return to form today, kicked 5 goals. What'd you make of his game?
It's actually really really good for us to see Tice in some really good form there. And when he's got a smile on his face and playing footy like that, it brings the whole group up. And we just want to get it into his hands, bring the ball to ground, and let him weave his magic.
You've got 4 out of the next 7 games down here at Kardinia Park. Where does Geelong, what's the improvement for you guys in the next 7 weeks? And you find yourself in the 8 after this weekend. What do you need to do to stay there, and what is it that this team can do moving forward, hopefully to a pretty successful finals campaign?
I think what we're going to do is just really hone in on our own game, try to get that humming going into hopefully a finals campaign, and 4 quarters of footy, being ruthless from the start of each, and that's what we're going to have to try to put together to get some form going and make an impact in finals.
Last one from me. Is it a Pinot or a Shiraz down there?
Honestly, my brother is going to be so mad at me for saying this. I don't really know anything about wine, so there's a lot of wine, critics in this club, and I actually avoid it. I don't really like the taste of wine.
Ollie, I've got to ask this question. What do the conditioning coaches think about it? Are they overruled in this? How many wines you have, or did you have one, or what is the case? That's quite intriguing.
Honestly, I'm not sure what this whole wine talk is. I know that they do love a wine, and the players get a couple of good bottles to share here and there. But for me, us young boys wouldn't go near it.
Just go sidle up alongside Blitz. He's got the good stuff, and pepper him with a few questions. Ollie, I know you've got to run to a meeting, probably wine club. Go enjoy it. Thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you. See you later.
It is wild, isn't it? Like, it just seems...
It's bizarre.
Yeah, they do things differently down here, and the coaches
maybe
involved...
get away with it because they're how senior the players are. They are, as he said, they are such a senior group of players that they are trusted to get themselves fit, get themselves organised. It's quite intriguing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I want to make mention of this before we go as well. The Allies have won the Under-18 National Carnival.
Right.
Which is incredible. First time ever. I mean...
Under-18, you say?
Oh, so yeah, the National Carnival, yeah.
Is it under-16 or under-18?
18.
Under-18.
It is under-18. So you're talking about New South Wales, Queensland, ACT, Tassie, and Northern Territory playing together against South Australia and West Australia independently. Yeah, okay.
Which I think is such a good endorsement of our game and how it's growing around the country, or seems to be anyway.
Yeah, I'll say yes, and I'll say, are we neglecting the grassroots?
Yeah.
Because my take, I travel to the bush every now and again, and so many sides are wound up, go into recession, merging. We just don't have the players.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether we're really putting the effort into grassroots footy.
Yeah, I lived that the last couple of years at my local club before I moved over to Melbourne as well, Mick, and very, very accurate what you're saying there. Numbers declining. Broadly, I can only speak in WA. I think the men's numbers were declining, propped up by the growth of the women's game, obviously, at the moment. So that's a watching brief. We've got to go. We're sending you over to Fremantle and Carlton. Got to get our votes very quickly. Kez?
All right, how quick have I got? Very quick.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right, I've given one vote to Tyson Stengel. Hard to go past him with 5 goals today. I thought he was really good, and he had to earn his goals as well. They weren't just nice, simple ones over the top, so I thought he was fantastic. I've given 2 votes to Tom Stewart. I thought he was absolutely outstanding, particularly early in the game when the game was there to be won. He had 26 touches. 9 of them were intercept possessions, and he gained 471 metres for his team. 3 votes to Tom Atkins. I agree with Mick. 25 touches, 14 contested, 14 tackles, 5 inside 50s, 5 intercept possessions.
Love your work, Kez. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Joel Peterson, to the coolest tech in the game, Jules McKenzie, Tom Cheeseman back in the studio, Mick Malthouse. Always good to work with you, Mick. Enjoy your trip back down to the Surf Coast. Enjoy your trip. Enjoy Perth. Fremantle and Carlton coming up to wrap up round 17. Goodbye from Cardinia Park.